He was once a hero admired by all, personally sending vicious criminals to prison. He thought those criminals would be sentenced to death. But to his surprise, due to the negligence of officials, even more innocent people lost their lives. In order to punish the criminals himself, he became the warden that everyone feared. Not long ago, a news report was airing on TV. The terrifying criminal Hwang Seung-won had finally been captured. The judge decisively sentenced him to death. To escort such a dangerous prisoner, South Korea dispatched heavy security, all for the purpose of sending him to Rculus prison, a place that held countless criminals. Hwang Seung-won would be locked in the deepest dungeon. The heroes who had given their lives in capturing Hwang Seung-won would also be honored with a hero's burial. Their funeral was scheduled for tonight. Upon seeing the news, the man lowered his head powerless. Just then, someone entered the hospital room and turned off the television. Seo Gang-yu, you're still injured. Get some rest first. It was Seo Gang-ho, a guard at Rculus prison, and his older brother. The two were silent for a long time. Suddenly, the man spoke. Brother, someone like Hwang Seung-won should be dealt with by my own hand. Have you forgotten your promise? Hearing this, Seo Gang-ho was lost in memory. A hero's duty is to save people, not to kill. No matter how great a criminal's sin, they should face justice through the law. Honestly, I agree with that. Only the law can deliver the final judgment to a criminal. Hwang Seung-won's execution is scheduled for next week, and I'll personally give the order. As a hero, you've fulfilled your mission. Leave the rest to us, the wardens. For now, come with me and bid farewell to your fallen comrades. The scene shifts. The funeral is held as scheduled. The portraits of 5 heroes rest quietly before the altar. The 2 brothers bow in silence, the atmosphere heavy with grief. Time passes quickly. A week later, the day of Hwang Seung-won's execution arrives. But what Seo Gang-yu receives is news he can hardly bear. His brother has died. The criminal who is supposed to face justice still lives, but the enforcer is gone. Seo Gang-yu is overwhelmed with guilt and self-reproach over his brother's death. Just as he sinks into regret, a woman pushes open the door. Let's talk. It is Jo Se-yoon, warden of Rculus prison. Seo Gang-yu's eyes fill with hatred at the sight of her. Jo Se-yoon hands him a tablet. This is the footage of Hwang Seung-won's execution. The video plays. Hwang Seung-won is escorted by prison guards. He turns his head toward the guard beside him. You look a lot like Seo Gang-yu. Are you brothers? Why did he become a hero while you're just a guard? Seo Gang-ho's face remains expressionless, offering no response. But Hwang Seung-won continues on his own. Do you know what it feels like after you kill someone? Seo Gang-ho pauses for a moment. Aren't you a guard? You've killed before, right? I'm just curious how you felt. Don't be nervous. I'm just a little disappointed. Disappointed? Why are you disappointed? As soon as you touch them, they'll explode. I'll die right here too. Hwang Seung-won's words leave Seo Gang-ho conflicted. He knows the man is not sane, but at the moment of execution, guilt still gnaws at him. After all, it is a life. Looks like you're really not cut out to be a prison guard. Again, Seo Gang-ho remains silent. Soon, Hwang Seung-won is brought into the execution chamber. Prisoner Hwang Seung-won, do you have any last words? If not, the execution will proceed. When the countdown ends, several guards press their buttons at once. At that moment, the footage abruptly cut out. Jo Se-yoon continued with the rest of the story. In the final second of the execution, something completely unexpected happened. As the guards pressed the buttons, the prison was suddenly plunged into darkness. For reasons unknown, all the devices attached to Hwang Seung-won failed at once. Instead, he became strangely exhilarated. It seems only he can kill me. In an instant, a cloud of white vapor swept through the entire room. Hearing the commotion, the guards immediately hit the ground to take cover. Someone hurriedly reported the situation over the radio. Just then, a hand landed on his shoulder. Hwang Seung-won appeared silently behind him, staring at him with dead, fixated eyes. Before the guard could react, his body began to rot and swell grotesquely. With a sickening crack, flesh and bone were torn apart. Step by step, Hwang Seung-won walked up to Seo Gang-ho. So you're his brother. Seo Gang-ho drew his weapon, trying to fight back. But Hwang Seung-won only lifted his hand, and Seo Gang-ho's arm twisted and snapped like a length of rope. Looks like I was right. Gritting his teeth against the pain, Seo Gang-ho reached for another weapon. You must answer for your crimes before the law, you monster. Hwang Seung-won raised his hand again, and Seo Gang-ho's body vanished in an instant. It seems only Seo Gang-yu can give me the answers I want. At that moment, murderous intent surged from Seo Gang-yu. Now you should understand the truth. A mysterious electromagnetic pulse attack severed all control over the prisoners on every floor. Fortunately, the inmates didn't escape the prison, but many guards ended up trapped among them. Hearing this, Seo Gang-yu's killing intent flared even more. Who was behind the EMP? I've already sent people to investigate, but so far nothing has turned up. I'm sorry to bring this up at a funeral, but right now I truly have no other options. Would you be willing to assist in suppressing the riot at Rculus prison? That's not a problem, but I have one condition. My comrade once said a hero's duty is to save people, but my brother told me a prison guard can pass judgment on criminals through the law. So from the moment I step into this prison, I am a guard, not a hero anymore. Meanwhile, Seo Gangyu had already arrived at the prison gates. Greetings, you worthless scum. I'm Seo Gangyu, your new prison guard. The inmates were visibly taken aback by his appearance. Isn't this guy supposed to be a hero? Why is he here? But soon, the expressions on the prisoners' faces changed. To run into you here. This is going to be interesting. Seo Gangyu didn't move as the inmates charged at him, simply clenching his fist with calm, focused power. Then with a single punch, he blasted the nearest prisoner straight through with nothing but the force of his strike. In moments, every inmate who rushed at him was sent flying with a single blow. Everyone present was stunned into silence by his overwhelming strength. Seo Gangyu spoke coldly. Listen up, all you trash. Orders from above. From level 1 to level 5, I'm taking over. From this moment on, every last criminal will receive the death penalty. His arrogant words infuriated the prisoners, and some even shouted that they would take him down. How many innocent people have you killed? Now it's your turn to pay in blood. Do you really think you deserve any sympathy? The inmates paid no heed to Seo Gangyu's words, some even insisting they'd done nothing wrong. A few argued that the number of people they'd hurt could be counted on 2 hands. More voices erupted around Seo Gangyu, some prisoners even demanding to see a lawyer. Amid the crowd, a green-haired inmate suddenly stepped forward. The clamor irritated him endlessly, and it also distracted Seo Gangyu. At that moment, a blue light flickered in the green-haired man's eyes. With a single kick, blue energy surged beneath his feet. He darted through the crowd, hoping to slip away in the chaos, only to find a massive foot blocking his path. A sickening crack sounded as his skull shattered. Seo Gangyu's foot landed squarely on his face. The green-haired prisoner was kicked away like a dead dog, collapsing in a heap. Seo Gangyu's thunderous response left the entire cell block stunned. Now you have a choice. Do you want to wait quietly for your execution, or end up like the green-haired fool, executed right now by me? While the prisoners glanced nervously at each other, one man stepped out. What's there to hesitate about? Of course we choose the second option. If we're going to die anyway, why not take a shot? It's not like we have any other choice, do we? Seo Gangyu's gaze grew icy. I'm not here to bargain with you. This is the last mercy you'll get from me. In that case, there's nothing left to say. The man suddenly roared, drawing everyone's attention. Even if you are a hero among this pack of lunatics, you don't have any real authority. And heroes aren't invincible. I once even helped take down a level 2 hero with a team. His words gave the prisoners something to rally around. So what if he's a hero? He'll die here just like anyone else. Let's enjoy this party. Just as the warden said, you really are trash. The scene shifts. Outside the prison, Jo Siyun is explaining Rculus prison's layout to Seo Gangyu. Rculus is extremely dangerous, with all inmates managed according to their threat level. On the first floor above ground, over 300 prisoners, all prolific murderers. In the first basement level, 100 prisoners capable of endangering an entire city. On the second basement level, 30 inmates who could threaten a metropolitan area. The third basement level holds only 10, each a threat to national security. On the fourth basement level, 5 prisoners with the power to destroy a continent. In the fifth and deepest basement, there are only 3. But these 3 possess the power to destroy the world. Hwang Seungwon is one of them. Although the prison is crowded, only a handful are expected to survive, as the inmates themselves are locked in constant, deadly conflict. But the situation on the first floor is unique. There, all the prisoners are united around one man, Hilasan, who possesses a special ability. He can amplify his allies' power with his voice. Seo Gangyu looked down and spoke into his collar's radio. How sturdy is this prison, really? The reply came. No matter how much force you use, the structure won't collapse. Good. That means I don't have to hold back. On the other side, a man sneered at Seo Gangyu. Who are you trying to fool? Even among the equals, you are a useless hero. I bet you only caught Hwang Seungwon by sacrificing your teammates, didn't you? Don't worry, though. Soon enough, we'll send you to join them. Just then, Hilasan let out a furious roar. The shout gave every prisoner a surge of power. At Hilasan's command, all the inmates charged at Seo Gangyu at once. Yet Seo Gangyu simply swung his arm through the air, and a cross-shaped slash crackling with thunder tore through the crowd. In a flash, lightning swept away the attackers. When the energy faded, more than half the prisoners were already down. Seo Gangyu gathered his strength again. Stomping hard on the ground with one leg, he sent the remaining prisoners flying skyward in an instant. Outside the walls, it felt like an earthquake had struck. As the inmates began to fall, Seo Gangyu flashed to meet them in midair. His hand transformed into a razor-sharp claw, and he struck from a distance. Mode 1. Red threads sharp as blades pierced through every prisoner, slicing them all cleanly in half. As the bodies hit the ground, the scene was hellish, like a battlefield of demons. Seo Gangyu's face betrayed not a hint of emotion. He simply spoke into the radio, his voice flat. First floor, all prisoners, execution complete. When Seo Gangyu finished dealing with the criminals before him, the ground behind him was littered with corpses. He couldn't even remember how many he had taken down. Was it dozens or hundreds? As he ventured deeper into the prison, he found 2 men who had somehow survived. Seo Gangyu's eyes were as cold and sharp as blades. You have 2 choices, go back and wait for judgment or die right now. The burly man, already sentenced to death, didn't care about the warning. Without hesitation, he lunged at Seo Gangyu. But Seo Gangyu's speed was beyond human comprehension. The brute was sent flying in an instant, crashing to the ground. The other prisoner was left stunned, gaping in terror. Desperately, the man threw up his hands in surrender, agreeing to put on restraints and await execution. He slowly raised his arms, waiting to be cuffed. But just then, a pulse of violet energy flashed from his palm, shooting out like an energy blast toward Seo Gangyu. The man thought he'd succeeded, but Seo Gangyu emerged unscathed. In that moment, he remembered someone's words. People without strength are truly pitiable. There's nothing more satisfying than crushing someone with your own hands. The weak can only hide and sneak attacks from afar. The next second, a heavy fist appeared right before the man's face. There was a sickening crack as his skull shattered, the sound echoing through the cell. With a single punch, Seo Gangyu obliterated the prisoner's head, as easily as cracking an egg. After clearing out the worthless trash, Seo Gangyu pressed on. Soon he arrived at a solitary cell. It's been 3 years. You finally came. Long time no see, hero. Seo Gangyu. Inside the cell was the solitary prisoner of the first floor. Chuck Fielder, a madman known for cannibalizing his own kind. Do you remember me? I thought you'd have changed jobs by now. Cut the crap. Jews. You know what I mean. Chuck Fielder sneered. If your friends could see us meeting like this, what would their faces look like? The scene cuts to the day Chuck Fielder was captured. Seo Gangyu had witnessed a rage-inducing scene from the shadows. A shrill voice followed. Not bad, ho. Don't you just want to kill me right now? Hearing this, Seo Gangyu's fists clenched, but just as he was about to act, a gentle voice stopped him. Seo Gangyu, control your anger. Don't let him get to you. Seeing this, Chuck Fielder flashed a smug, villainous smile. Seo Gangyu didn't respond, only glared at him coldly. Now the power of lightning crackled in his hand. If you don't answer, I'll take it as a choice for death. Do you know why I killed them? Seo Gangyu had no interest in Chuck Fielder's words. As soon as the question left his lips, he vanished from sight. Chuck Fielder was already dead, his body in pieces. But Chuck Fielder's voice still echoed in the air. Because I just wanted them to remember me. That's why I chose to finish them off myself. No one else would ever matter so much in their lives. But when terror swallowed them, I knew they'd never forget me. In their final moments, they would remember me forever. If you don't believe me, I can show you the memory of each and every one of them. Or you can just look at one. As Chuck Fielder finished speaking, a figure slowly began to take shape. But just as it started to form, his arm was suddenly severed. I'd love nothing more than to shut your lying mouth myself. What's wrong? Do you not even have the guts to face me now? Chuck Fielder was unfazed by Seo Gangyu's threat. He kept probing, trying to tear open Seo Gangyu's weakest spot. Do you remember me? And those who died for you? Seo Gangyu's expression grew even darker. People like you aren't worth remembering. Trash like you is beneath contempt. At that moment, something strange happened. Before Seo Gangyu's eyes, a crowd of the dead suddenly appeared. All of them called out to him in unison. For a brief moment, Seo Gangyu was caught off guard. But he quickly regained his composure, not lingering even a second on these old friends. He knew it was all just an illusion. This pathetic trick of yours is about over, isn't it? Chuck Fielder hesitated, caught off guard. I don't believe you really dealt with them. Seo Gangyu just sneered. A flash of steel. He was already behind Chuck Fielder. The blade in his hand reflected a pale, terrified face. Drops of fresh blood still dripped from the mirrored edge. Did you really think your illusions could fool me? Besides, the man I am now is a prison guard, not a hero. You're not just a guard, you're a monster. Just like Hwang Seung-won. At these words, something unreadable flickered across Seo Gangyu's face. Meanwhile, Hwang Seung-won sat idly in a corner, bored. The girl locked up with him bore fresh wounds. Seo Gangyu, when are you coming down to find me? Or do you want me to come looking for you instead? Outside Rculus prison, 3 people watched in secret. Shinkanam, when will you make your move? But the girl said he's already out. My dearest husband, Seo Gangyu. Her words left the other 2 utterly puzzled. Aren't you already married to Hwang Seung-won? Did you launch the EMP just to save him? Seo Gangyu seems so ordinary. Why do you think he's special? A look of anticipation blossomed on the woman's face. No, you misunderstood. He's never shown his true strength. The two told her she had to choose. Polygamy was illegal here. Hearing this, she actually looked a little troubled, but what she really cared about was who would survive this struggle. Only the last one standing could be her destined one. The scene shift. A female guard is praising Seo Gangyu. I can't believe you cleared an entire floor so quickly. If you're planning to go any deeper, I'd suggest you rest first. The farther down you go, the stronger your enemies become. But Seo Gangyu refused her offer. Open the door. Take me down now. The guard hesitated for a moment. All right, I understand. But before we go, I have a request. There are still guards below sending out distress signals. How many? Communications are down below the first floor. I'm not sure of the exact number, but I'm certain there are survivors, because the signal from the fifth basement is still working. Meanwhile, in front of a surveillance screen on one of the lower floors, a guard was frantically calling for help. Hwang Seungwon appeared behind him without a sound. He raised his hand again, and the guard's body began to rot away just like the others, dying instantly. Hwang Seungwon played with the lives in this prison like a madman, just to let those above witness their fate. Back upstairs, Seo Gangyu agreed to the female guard's request. Together, they quickly reached the door to the next level. I'm warning you again. The prisoners below are on a different level than those above. Be careful. The heavy door slid open, and a wave of danger rushed out to meet them. A group of inmates hurled their makeshift weapons at Seo Gangyu, and in an instant, attacks rained down from every direction. The female guard's heart clenched in worry for him. Suddenly, a clawed man appeared. You're worried about someone else. You should be worrying about yourself. He seized the female guard by the throat and hoisted her into the air. Every time I see you acting so high and mighty, I want to tear you apart. That other guard was your boss, right? Kid, I've got this woman. Get on your knees and beg. But when he glanced back at Seo Gangyu, he saw nothing but a field of corpses and rivers of blood. The sight left him frozen in shock. In that split second, Seo Gangyu appeared overhead. A merciless punch crashed down on the man's face. As Seo Gangyu landed, even the ground shuddered. Don't follow me anymore. Get back upstairs. The danger here isn't something you can handle. Intimidated by Seo Gangyu's aura, the female guard stammered out her agreement. Before I go, there's one thing I have to tell you. Tamoki's been captured. She's on the first basement level. Seo Gangyu gave no reply, simply heading down alone. The scene shift. To the solitary cells on the first basement level. A group of prisoners was still discussing the earlier tremors. A woman, her expression sly, interrupted their conversation. She was Seo Gangyu's former teammate from his days as a hero. Tamoki, do you really think he'll succeed? Idiot. Of course not. I tried to stop him, but he just wouldn't listen. You know why villains always lose. Because they lack intelligence. A burly man stalked over, glowering at Tamoki. You want me to take care of you right now? Tamoki only sneered. You've only ever fought ordinary people. Have you ever faced a superhuman? Or have you actually gone toe-to-toe with one? You think you can take me down? The man immediately bristled with murderous intent. I don't mind. Let's see how I do against a superhuman right now. No sooner had he finished speaking than a fresh wound split open on his body. Tamoki's right hand had transformed into a claw, her gaze looking down on him as if he were an ant. Pathetic. All you do is bark. Tamoki's powers left every prisoner in the room stunned. But she carried on unhurried, telling her story. When I was a hero, I caught a lot of criminals. That's how I learned to handle superhumans. And with those skills, I've taken down my share of heroes too. If you're willing to submit to me, I can teach you how to hunt superhumans. More importantly, I know everything about Seo Gangyu. To win over the other inmates, Tamoki revealed information known only within the circle of heroes. She even possessed detailed dossiers on many heroes. But the men didn't fully trust Tamoki. After all, their enemy was equality, a team composed entirely of first-class heroes. And Tamoki herself had only been a third-class hero. How could she possibly understand opponents of that caliber? Tamoki knew these criminals only cared about immediate benefits, so she began recounting the origins of the Equality team. Initially, Equality was just a ragtag group. Everything changed when Ryasa became their leader and completely reformed the hero system. First, they redefined what it meant to be a hero, forbidding heroes from dispensing justice as they pleased. Second, they instituted joint training among heroes. Finally, they abolished the hero ranking system entirely. Seo Gangyu joined Equality after the classification was abolished. But after joining, he didn't achieve anything remarkable. Some even whispered that Seo Gangyu was simply Ryasa's lover. Hearing this, the men started to believe Tamoki's story. But still, they remained wary of Seo Gangyu. After all, anyone who could wipe out so many criminals in such a short time was at least on the level of a second-class hero. No one present could match that kind of power. But Tamoki said, Seo Ganyu only took care of a bunch of thugs. With your talents, handling him shouldn't be a problem. Yet after hearing this, all the criminals frowned. Anyone locked up here had at least 1,000 lives on their hands. The boss of this place alone had killed 6,000. There's no need to be nervous. You don't really have any other choice. Seo Ganyu's ability isn't weak, but he's not unstoppable. And I know his weakness. He'll be here soon, so you'd better make up your minds. Before long, all the inmates raised their hands, agreeing to join forces against Seo Ganyu. So what's your plan? To ensure her plan went smoothly, Tamoki gave a brief explanation of the source of superpowers. A few centuries ago, superhuman abilities began appearing among humans. Scholars divided them into 3 main types. First, the physical type, which enhances or changes the body. Second, the creation type, which manifests things from nothing. Third, the special type, for abilities outside the first 2 categories. At that moment, Seo Ganyu had already stepped into their trap. A flash of blue light in 2 prisoners' eyes revealed they were relaying Seo Ganyu's position via brainwaves. This was the man's physical ability, neural communication, allowing them to share visual information. Tamoki smiled as she saw Seo Ganyu approach. After all, Seo Ganyu's abilities, like her own, belonged to the physical type. She knew all too well the weaknesses of that category. Just as Seo Ganyu made his intentions clear, a sudden flash streaked across the distance, followed by a deafening explosion right beside him. Now Tamoki's plan was laid bare. Use the heavy door as a shield and keep it between them. Criminals with special abilities launched another round of attacks. Soon even more inmates hiding in the shadows revealed themselves, each unleashing their powers. As you said, he's just standing there taking the hits. But the man knew deep down that Seo Ganyu wasn't dodging because none of these attacks were worth wasting his energy on. And that was exactly what Tamoki wanted. Suddenly, countless straps whipped through the air and bound Seo Ganyu tightly. His limbs were restrained by devices that suppressed superpowers. Seo Ganyu glanced down at the restraints, his face unreadable. Seeing him trapped, the criminals broke into raucous cheers, hands raised in triumph. But just seconds later, the laughter died. With the slightest flex, Seo Ganyu shattered every restraint. Everyone present, Tamoki included, had made the same mistake. They'd underestimated Seo Ganyu's true power. His strength had already surpassed even the highest rank of hero. Hidden behind the cell door, Tamoki and her companion were left speechless by Seo Ganyu's display. Tamoki quickly directed the remaining prisoners to activate the second phase of the plan. They seized the surviving guards, trying to use them as hostages to threaten Seo Ganyu, hoping to hold him back. But Seo Ganyu merely twitched his finger, and red threads instantly ensnared every criminal around him. This was Tamoki's second mistake. They didn't truly understand Seo Ganyu's abilities at all. While his powers appeared to be physical, they were in truth far more unique and dangerous. Now hidden behind the heavy prison door, the criminals panicked, torn over whether to activate the control device. Desperate to survive, they gambled everything. Some began to threaten Seo Ganyu, warning him not to make any rash moves or they'd trigger the device. Suddenly, Seo Ganyu conjured a massive sword out of thin air, its blade flickering with a menacing dark red glow. He swung the sword at the prisoners. A murderous arc of energy sliced several inmates clean in half. The barrage of reversals left the man in utter shock. "You damned woman! What else are you hiding?" But Tamoki's face was dark, ignoring his curses altogether. She was still puzzling over how Seo Ganyu had broken the suppression device, while the man's insults only grew louder. Finally, the constant abuse pushed Tamoki over the edge. In a fit of rage, she pierced his heart with one clawed hand. "Who do you think you are, yelling at me like that? Did you really think trash like you was on my level?" Yet fear still gnawed at her. Why did Seo Ganyu have this power but never reveal it on the battlefield? As she grumbled, a strange squirming sound reached her ears. The guard she'd been using as a seat was actually trying to escape. The sight only made Tamoki angrier, and as she raised her claws to strike, they were suddenly severed by an invisible force. Seo Ganyu approached her step by step. "Hero Tamoki, or rather, criminal Tamoki. Any last words?" Tamoki tried once more to attack with words. "So are you the only member of equality left alive?" Seo Ganyu didn't hide anything and spoke the truth directly. Tamoki suddenly burst out laughing, her laughter laced with regret and frustration. "I told her not to play the hero. What a stubborn sister. You're one of equality, but you've killed with your own hands. Do the other heroes know what you've done? You should understand how much Rayasa sacrificed to reform the hero system. But because of you, everything's back to square one. Don't you think you owe something to Rayasa, who gave her life?" The scene shifts and Tamoki's past comes into focus. After becoming a hero, she finally saw the building she'd always dreamed of. But in that moment, she sensed something was off. Heroes, as humanity's guardians, couldn't be simply defined as good just because they punished criminals. Some heroes, in order to complete their missions, would even kill captured civilians. Because when carrying out a mission, even if civilians died, these crimes were never made public. After all, the image of heroes was not to be tarnished. Tamoki chose to become a hero mainly for her younger sister, Tommy. Tommy had no powers and always relied on her big sister. To protect her, Tamoki set out on the hero's path. But the more Tamoki was praised by the world, the more twisted she became inside. As a hero, she did not feel pride. Instead, a sense of superiority took root. During one mission, Tamoki accidentally killed a criminal. It was the first time she'd ended a life with her own hands. That accident set her on a path of no return. She started to lose her grip on sanity. In that moment, she experienced a thrill like never before, as if she'd finally found her true self. From then on, Tamoki's killings never stopped. Civilians, criminals, even fellow heroes all became her prey. Her endless slaughter brought her a twisted joy, eliminating heroes weaker than herself. That thrill made her forget her original dreams completely. One night, Tamoki left home for no reason. Her strange behavior aroused Tommy's suspicion, so Tommy secretly followed her. That was how she accidentally witnessed a devastating scene. She saw her sister in the act of murder with her own eyes. Tamoki sensed Tommy's presence behind her, but by then, Tamoki was already lost to madness. She even asked her sister if she wanted to join her. The sight shattered Tommy to the core. Just as Tamoki was about to act again, a chain suddenly wrapped around her arm. Under Tamoki's threat, Tommy finally awakened her own superpower. From that moment, Tamoki became a criminal and Tommy became a hero. At the same time, Tamoki asked Seo Gangyu if Tommy suffered when she died. Seo Gangyu answered honestly, "Tommy was killed by Hwang Seungwon, but before she died, she begged me to save her sister. She sacrificed herself. For you." Tamoki fell silent for a moment. Maybe I shouldn't have asked. Just then, blue light enveloped Tamoki's body. As the light faded, she transformed into another form. In a flash, she vanished from sight. The next moment, Tamoki's blade had pierced Seo Gangyu's body. But the feeling she expected never came. At some point, Seo Gangyu had disappeared from before her eyes. Suddenly, an overwhelming pressure appeared behind her. Tamoki turned, and Seo Gangyu's heavy kick crashed down. The force sent debris flying through the cell. As the dust cleared, Tamoki attacked again. But Seo Gangyu was ready, his fist slamming into Tamoki's abdomen. Blood gushed from her mouth, and she reverted to her original form. "Even if you're a criminal, I don't want to kill the family of a friend." Those words gave Tamoki a fleeting hope for survival. "Please let me go. You're a hero, you can't break your promise. You once swore to Ryasa, didn't you?" Seo Gangyu only stared at her coldly. "My role now is prison guard, not hero. Begging for your life. Does it feel familiar? The people you killed, they begged you like this too, right before they died. And how did you treat them? You know better than I do." With a thunderous crash, the entire prison shook. The noise terrified everyone, except Hwang Seungwon. If anything, it only excited him more, to the point where he wanted to break out of his cell and hunt for Seo Gangyu. Just as he was about to act, a strange force knocked him back. It only sparked a new sense of amusement in Hwang Seungwon. At that moment, an ancient voice echoed out. "Child, are you bored? Do you want Grandpa to play with you for a while?" The speaker was Kingston, inmate 1, held in the 5th and deepest level of the prison. Seeing Hwang Seungwon and Kingston about to clash, the supervising guards were terrified. But the female guard's lips curled into an excited smile. When two beasts go at it, someone's bound to bleed. Still, she secretly hoped Kingston would win. Compared to Hwang Seungwon, he was far easier to control. Yet what intrigued her more was why that woman would choose to stay with Hwang Seungwon. Kingston spoke first, asking if Hwang Seungwon wanted to spar for a bit. But Hwang Seungwon replied that he wasn't interested. A wave of oppressive power radiated from Kingston, but his tone remained gentle. "But Grandpa would really like to play with you." The scene shifts and Kingston's past emerges. He was the first criminal ever captured by Rculus and remains the prison's eldest inmate. Unlike the others, his hands were not stained with countless crimes. In his whole life, he had only ended 3. The first was the strongest criminal of the time, Caracas. The second and third, the greatest heroes. Clark and Hilo. No one knows where he came from. He simply wanted to prove his strength and defeated the 3 greatest beings of his era. In the end, convinced of his own invincibility, he turned himself in to the government. Though his threat level was the highest, he'd only killed 3 people and surrendered willingly. Coupled with a period of tension between the government and the Hero Association, he'd ended up spending 30 years on death row, his sentence never carried out. Now Kingston looked every bit the kindly old grandfather. "I won't kill you. I don't want to leave a bad impression by stepping on young seedlings." Hwang Seungwon didn't respond, only slowly raised his hand. Instantly, all the corpses in the cell began to levitate, and in the next heartbeat, with a thunderous pop, every corpse was compressed into a red sphere of blood. "As you wish. Let's make this fun." The words had barely left his lips before every blood sphere shot toward Kingston. The old man didn't dodge, simply stood his ground. As the blood orbs closed in, Kingston raised his hand. his movements slow as if in a dream. Each block left a lingering afterimage. His punches flowed seamlessly, sending every blood sphere flying. Where they smashed against the walls, they exploded, and a rain of blood drenched the room. I thought you were using telekinesis, but now I'm not so sure. You have other tricks, don't you? Hwang Seungwon replied, utterly bored. Killing a half-dead old man isn't any fun. You're an arrogant brat. I've seen far too many like you in my life. At those words, Kingston suddenly stomped. The floor beneath him cracked wide open. You people. Frogs at the bottom of a well, everyone convinced you're the strongest. The force of the blow shook the whole prison. The male guards were terrified, fearing a collapse. But the female guard remained calm. Don't worry, not even a first-class hero could break through here. These walls are 20 layers thick. Kingston fixed his gaze on Hwang Seungwon. Let me correct that attitude of yours. In the blink of an eye, he was right in front of Hwang Seungwon. A deafening crash followed, unleashing a cloud of white smoke. The shockwave was so intense it seemed to change the very color of the sky. As the smoke cleared, it revealed a massive hole torn through the supposedly unbreakable prison wall. And yet Hwang Seungwon stood there, completely unharmed. The guards watching the monitors were stunned. A breach in the wall meant the deepest prisoners could escape at any moment. For the first time, a wild grin spread across Hwang Seungwon's face. Should we follow him and see what happens? Just as Hwang Seungwon hesitated, a voice cut through his thoughts. You want to tag along with that old man? Isn't it more interesting to have a chat with me? Hwang Seungwon frowned. I don't think we've met. Talk to me for a while and you'll understand exactly who I am. The sudden turn of events made the guards even more anxious. Why is he here? But before we get to that, the voyeurs hiding in the shadows. Stop eavesdropping. Meanwhile, Seo Gangyu had arrived at the door to the next floor, reporting on his radio. First basement level cleared. Please open the next door. But only a burst of static answered him. He couldn't tell what was happening. After waiting a long time with no response, Seo Gangyu decided to force the door open with his bare hands. The moment he stepped into the second basement, a heavy smell of blood hit him, but the area was eerily spotless, not a single corpse in sight. Suddenly, a distant cry for help echoed through the space. Two twisted, monstrous creatures were chasing a female guard. The moment she spotted Seo Gangyu, she shouted a name that shocked him. Gangho. But the monsters behind her didn't give them time to talk. In the next instant, those snarling beasts vanished into thin air. Are you all right? The female guard threw herself into Seo Gangyu's arms, sobbing. Weren't you supposed to be on the 5th floor? How did you end up here? Did you finally awaken your superpower? Why did you keep it hidden for so long? That's when Seo Gangyu realized. She thought he was her brother. My name is Seo Gangyu. I'm Seo Gangho's younger brother. The guard froze. You're the hero Seo Gangyu. But why are you wearing a guard's uniform? So you're my brother's colleague. This place is too dangerous. You need to get out of here. But before you go, can I ask, who are you really? The woman smiled. It's our first meeting, I should introduce myself. I'm your sister-in-law. You and your brother are so alike. Hearing this, Seo Gangyu felt a shock in his heart. At the same time, in a cell on the second basement level, it seems a new presence has arrived. At that moment, Seo Gangyu looked at his sister-in-law in disbelief. I only knew my brother had a girlfriend. I never heard anything about a wedding. Hongjia scratched her head sheepishly. Actually, here in this place, I'm already carrying Seo Gangho's child. Seo Gangyu was stunned. Are you serious? I'm not even 2 weeks pregnant yet, so it's normal you can't tell. Once the Hwang Seungwon situation is resolved, I'll explain everything to you. But why are you wearing a prison guard's uniform? Are you here to put down the riot? I was appointed as a special guard. Right now, I'm serving as the executioner in Rculus. Shock spread across Hongjia's face. Why would you take on the job of executioner? I guess there's still a lot you don't know. Seo Gangyu proceeded to tell Hongjia everything that had happened. After learning the truth, Hongjia anxiously asked about Seo Gangho's safety. Seo Gangyu didn't answer, but looking at his expression, Hongjia understood everything. Whether out of his own obsession or for his sister-in-law's sake, Seo Gangyu mentioned that someone on the 5th underground floor had sent a distress signal. He tried to persuade Hongjia to go upstairs, citing the danger. But Hongjia refused. If you want to keep going down, you'll need my ability. I can read the memories of objects I touch, which means I can tell who's truly a criminal. And how does that help us? On the second basement level, there are two sisters, Meal and Male. They have a summoning ability and can call forth special creatures. Once those creatures pierce someone's heart, the victim becomes a puppet. Right now, all the criminals on this floor are under their control. I know those abilities. They're disciples of that sorcerer. But if that's all you can tell me, then I still need you to leave. You might not realize it, but even some of the guards have become puppets. You won't be able to tell them apart. But I can by reading their memories. Seo Gangyu frowned. If they're puppets, doesn't that mean they're as good as dead? Hong Jia shook her head. They're still alive. If the puppet state is broken, they'll return to normal. But you know as well as I do, the sisters won't spare any guards whatever happens. Hong Jia's voice was resolute. She would do everything she could to persuade them. Before I'm a mother, I'm a guard. My duty is to protect this place. Xiao Gangyu fell silent. He raised his hand. Suddenly, several red threads wrapped gently around Hong Jia. With Xiao Gangyu's power, she was lifted into the air, floating safely. This is my ability. Don't worry. It'll protect you and keep you from harm. He didn't explain further, simply moved forward. Soon they encountered a group of radiant, haloed puppets. These are Meal's creations. Many of these puppets were once guards. Guards? Where are they? Hong Jia activated her power. Psychometry. She quickly pinpointed the last two puppets in the group and relayed their locations to Xiao Gangyu. She was about to analyze the differences between the puppets further, but Xiao Gangyu abruptly severed her vision and blocked all sound. In order to subdue the criminals quickly, Xiao Gangyu had no choice but to use such extreme means. He knew that in this moment there was no distinction between guard and criminal. He unleashed his power. Countless red lines shot forward, binding the two identified puppets. The rest of the puppets surged toward him, attacking as one. With a single punch, he shattered a puppet's head. More puppets swarmed him. Xiao Gangyu lashed out again, the force of his blows sending them flying. In just a few moves, he had cleared the air of puppets. Not far away, someone was watching through a crystal ball. The very sisters Hong Jia had mentioned. This stranger, his strength seems even greater than our teacher's, maybe even stronger than that woman's. Xiao Gangyu released the restraints on Hong Jia. Hong Jia, still shaken, demanded, "Why did you lock me up? What just happened?" It was clear she'd been deeply frightened. Xiao Gangyu replied calmly, "I should have told you earlier. The guards have already been isolated, and the other criminals have all been executed by me." Executed? Hong Jia froze. But executions are supposed to happen on the 5th floor, aren't they? Do you mean you killed them yourself? That's right. Is there a problem? Was this your own idea, or were you ordered to do it? Xiao Gangyu answered without hesitation, both. Hong Jia fell silent for a moment, her expression tinged with worry. Xiao Gangho mentioned you before. Are you really all right? I'm just doing my duty as a guard. There's nothing wrong with that. Hong Jia suddenly grew agitated. A guard's duty isn't to kill. We're supposed to rehabilitate them. Xiao Gangyu's expression darkened and he cut her off coldly. Don't talk to me about ideals. I know exactly what I'm doing. Everyone locked up here is a mass murderer. Whether I'm a guard or a hero doesn't matter anymore. What I regret is not realizing sooner that these people were beyond saving. I should have wiped out every last one of them who'd forfeited their right to be human. Hong Jia's voice trembled, whether with fear or shame it was hard to say. But they're still people. Xiao Gangyu's anger flared again. Do they really deserve to be called human? Every criminal on this floor has thousands of lives on their hands. I executed them because that's what they deserved. You have psychometry. You can sense their emotions. You think they all have stories. But have you ever thought about the stories of their victims? They were all sentenced to death anyway. Does it really matter who carries it out? Hong Jia tried to argue again, but Xiao Gangyu cut her off. If you're going to try to stop me, I'll have to send you back up. Right now, I just want to handle things my own way. The two fell into a heavy silence as they pressed onward. Suddenly, a group of puppets blocked their path. Are any of those puppets guards? Xiao Gangyu asked. Hong Jia quickly answered, the last three. Xiao Gangyu immediately dropped into a fighting stance. Hong Jia looked at him and muttered under her breath. If Xiao Gangho knew about this, it would break his heart. At the mention of Xiao Gangho, a murderous light flashed in Xiao Gangyu's eyes. By then, the puppets were almost upon them. Xiao Gangyu, distracted, failed to dodge in time. Just as a sword was about to pierce him, the supposedly unbreakable blade suddenly snapped. Hong Jia's words echoed in his mind, his face twisting with rage as power surged through his body. In that instant, he transformed into something monstrous. All the frustration he'd bottled up finally burst free. Now, all he wanted was to destroy everything in front of him. Xiao Gangyu unleashed his power. Countless dark energy spheres materialized behind him. At his command, the spheres shot toward the puppets. The cell rang with the sound of violent impacts. Blood rained down on him from above, but he stood there, lost in thought. From afar, another group watched his every move. He's getting more and more impressive. As Xiao Gangyu dispatched the last of the puppets, only the final 3 guard puppets remained before him. Suddenly, a tremendous crash drew Xiao Gangyu's gaze. Meal and Male appeared before him, a gigantic beast looming at their backs. I never expected the two of you would dare come meet me alone. The moment the sisters saw Hong Jia, they immediately demanded, why didn't you come find us? You should have been sent to heaven by now. Xiao Gangyu cut them off, release your power right now. Return the guards to normal. If you cooperate, I can let you leave with dignity. No pain. Can't you just give us a chance to live? You know perfectly well how this ends for you. The criminals above. I only put control devices on them. But you too, you're in no position to bargain with me. Mr. Xiaogangyu, I heard you used to work with our teacher. And that woman who caught us. But your presence is different. You're like a bloodthirsty beast. When you die, you'll go straight to hell. Xiaogangyu shifted into a fighting stance. Then let's see who gets there first. If you promise to let us go, I'll release my power immediately. Xiaogangyu refused without hesitation. Seeing the tension rise, Hongjia hurriedly warned the sisters not to provoke Xiaogangyu, or things would only get worse. If you put on the control devices now, there might still be a way out. Miel replied, I haven't committed any capital crimes. Hongjia, you know our situation better than anyone. So I refuse your offer. Seeing Hongjia rebuffed, Xiaogangyu remarked without sympathy, I told you this path wouldn't work. I don't negotiate with criminals. Even if you're monsters, I'll make you taste pain. We don't want to fight you. Why not hear us out first? Xiaogangyu refused again. As Hongjia tried to reason with him, Xiaogangyu abruptly shut off all her senses. At the same time, he unleashed his power, hoisting the sisters high into the air, tightly bound. The more they struggled, the tighter the bonds became. Watching their helpless struggle, Xiaogangyu remembered someone who'd once taught him many ways to torment people. He hadn't expected to actually use those methods one day. The sisters cried out together, we're human, not monsters. Just people with a special power. As they spoke, yellow light flickered across their bodies. The moment the words left their lips, the sisters vanished, replaced by two unfamiliar criminals. Seeing this, Xiaogangyu's eyes grew cold as ice. In a blink, the new criminals were reduced to puddles of blood. Even then, the sisters' voices echoed in the room. Why must people call us by different names? How are we any different from them? Suddenly, more puppets appeared before Xiaogangyu. A crushing aura exploded from him. In just a single breath, he obliterated every puppet. His movements too fast for the eye to follow. Mail stared in shock, unable to believe her puppets had been destroyed so quickly. Meanwhile, Meal's summoned beast was still trying to break through the prison wall. After seeing Xiaogangyu's power, Mail didn't hesitate any longer. She began chanting a spell, a small magic circle glowing in her hands. The next moment, she fused the circle into a magic orb. Soon after, a massive magic circle manifested before Xiaogangyu. As it activated, countless halos appeared, and hideous monsters poured forth from each one. Mail's voice rang out again. This is a summoner's power, but compared to real humans, it's nothing at all. Before she could finish, Xiaogangyu's fist slammed into the nearest monster. The rest barely had time to react before he kicked them aside. In an instant, Xiaogangyu's fingers morphed into claws, and he tore through the horde. Everything in his path sliced clean in two. Once the monsters were cleared, Xiaogangyu began hunting for the sisters. Seeing their creatures wiped out again in the blink of an eye, Mail anxiously asked Meal how much longer it would take to break the wall. Meal replied 10 more minutes. Hearing that, Mail bit her finger, preparing a forbidden summoning to buy time. But just as she began casting, a sudden commotion erupted. A massive hole split open in the ceiling, raining dust and debris. As the smoke cleared, Xiaogangyu appeared before them. Looks like your game is over. Now release your power immediately, or I'll show you what it means to beg for death. After dispatching the monsters, Xiaogangyu strode over to the sisters. Yet their eyes weren't on him. They stared dazed at the hole he'd blasted through the ceiling. How strong is he really? Seeing their shock, Xiaogangyu's expression grew murderous as he threatened, release your power. No. Suddenly, Meal raised her hands. Magical circles appeared out of thin air on the ceiling above. Xiaogangyu looked up to see several angelic beings emerge from the circles. Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel. Without warning, a cross-shaped slash split the air. As Xiaogangyu landed, the newly summoned angels were instantly cleaved into countless fragments. The two girls stared speechless at the scene before them. In the next instant, Meal conjured another magic circle, this time one that controlled the minds of the guards. Within moments, a ring of guards had gathered protectively around Meal. Stay back. If you don't let us leave, these guards will die because of you. If you don't release your power, your sister will die by your hand. No sooner had Xiaogangyu finished speaking than Meal heard her sister's anguished scream. At some point, Mail had already fallen under Xiaogangyu's control. Now you have only one choice. Otherwise, your sister will die in agony. Suddenly, Xiaogangyu released his hold on Mail, letting her experience what it truly meant to wish for death. Her heart-rending screams left Meal completely shaken. Seems you're still not willing to give up. Before Xiaogangyu could finish, Meal fell to her knees. I'll release my power. Just let me say a few words to Hongjia. My patience is limited. Break the spell. Don't make me ask again. The scene shifted, the sisters faced each other, undoing their magic. Quickly, the guards under their control regained consciousness. Disoriented, the freed guards and prisoners were left bewildered, unsure why they were even there. As soon as the prisoners returned to themselves, Xiao Gangyu executed every last one of them. His killing intent left the sisters stunned, and the rescued guards full of questions. They started forward wanting to ask what had happened, but Xiao Gangyu waved them off, warning, "There's danger here. Get out. Mr. Xiao Gangyu, we've lifted our power. Now it's your turn to keep your promise." "Good. You made the right choice. I'll let you see Miss Hongjia, but not here. This place isn't safe for a pregnant woman." A moment later, Xiao Gangyu released his hold on Hongjia. She anxiously asked what had happened. "Mission complete. All the guards under mind control are safe. But these sisters in front of you, before they die, they want to talk." Hongjia wanted to plead for mercy, but Xiao Gangyu's tone brooked no argument. "Don't make me repeat myself. You should know. Anyone locked up on the second basement floor has murdered countless innocents. I'll carry out these executions myself." Even now, the sisters weren't ready to give up. They tried to appeal to Hongjia's sympathy, desperate for a chance to live. "Officer Hongjia, did we really do anything unforgivable? I swear we never crossed that line." Xiao Gangyu, seeing Hongjia hesitate, reminded her coldly, "Don't forget who you are. Male. You are sentenced to death." Saying the words seemed to drain all of Hongjia's strength. "If you have nothing else to say, I'll proceed with the sentence." Seeing Xiao Gangyu's resolve, the sisters could only beg for mercy. Their desperate pleas echoed as Xiao Gangyu clenched his fist. Just then, a thunderous crash rang out. When the smoke cleared, Xiao Gangyu froze. A tall figure had appeared out of nowhere, stepping between him and the sisters. It was their teacher, an old acquaintance of Xiao Gangyu's as well. Xiao Gangyu couldn't help but wonder why the man had come. "It's been a long time, Mr. Xiao Gangyu. Has something happened here?" The one who raised the barrier was none other than Meigo, a member of the equality team. Meigo's sudden appearance left Xiao Gangyu puzzled. Was this some kind of ability of theirs? But he quickly dismissed the idea. There was no way a criminal from the second sublevel could conjure a magical defense of this level. If I'm not mistaken, Meigo himself has used this ability before. But why would he want to protect these sisters, even going so far as to shield them personally? Even if this barrier came from Meigo, it didn't change the inevitable. These sisters had to be executed today. As soon as Xiao Gangyu finished gathering his strength, he slammed his fist against the barrier. With a single blow, cracks webbed across the shield. But matters didn't end as he'd expected. Behind Meigo, even more magic circles blossomed into existence. The barrier Xiao Gangyu had just shattered was only the outermost layer. Seeing this, veins bulged on Xiao Gangyu's forehead in frustration. "Just how many layers of magic have you stacked, old man?" Yet what concerned Xiao Gangyu more was Meigo's true intention. He attacked again and again, each strike shattering a layer of the barrier like breaking glass. But when he finally broke through the last of them, a sense of unease gnawed at his heart. No matter how he tried to brush it off, Xiao Gangyu couldn't shake the feeling. In that moment, memories flooded his mind. Back then, all the members of Equality were still alive. They watched Meigo with warm smiles, while a group of children gathered around him. "Isn't the old man tired yet?" As they joked, Meigo called out, "Don't just stand up there, come down and play with us." Soon, everyone was playing with the children. Only Xiao Gangyu sat alone under a tree, lost in thought. At some point, Meigo strolled over and sat beside him. "Don't you like kids?" "It's not that. I just don't know how to be around them. You could try doing the things your parents did with you when you were little." The words struck a nerve. "My parents died when I was just a baby. My brother raised me on his own." Meigo's face filled with regret and he quickly apologized. "In that case, why don't you try with me? Let yourself be a child again just for a while." Xiao Gangyu looked at him in confusion. Meigo burst out laughing. "I never thought I'd see you make that face. But I'm not joking. You carry so much on your shoulders. If you ever run into something you can't work out, tell me. Maybe I can help you find the answer." The scene flickered to a moment of life and death. By then, Hwang Seungwon had slaughtered all the members of Equality. Xiao Gangyu arrived too late and stood frozen in shock at the sight before him. The playful team he'd known was gone, replaced by cold, lifeless bodies. A surge of murderous rage consumed him. Just then, a faint voice reached his ears. "It's all right, Xiao Gangyu. It's all right. Everything will pass in time." Back in the present, Xiao Gangyu had shattered Meigo's barrier down to its final layer. Meal thought he would destroy it completely, but Xiao Gangyu suddenly stopped his assault. Looking at the gentle old man before him, he relented. He wanted to leave Meigo his last bit of protection. Abruptly, Xiao Gangyu released Hongjia. "Can you read memories embedded in abilities?" Hongjia was surprised but nodded. Xiao Gangyu pointed up at Meigo. "Please help me read his memories. I want to know what this old man was thinking when he did all this." Moments later, 3 figurines appeared in Hongjia's hands. The memories stored within Meigo's power. Xiao Gangyu frowned at her method, but Hongjia found it adorable. Why do the memories of these prisoners show up too? That's because the ability was cast on them. In that case, go ahead and start reading. But let me be clear. No matter what these criminals have been through, I'll still carry out the execution. As Hongjia activated her power, Meal and Mail's memories began to surface. An auctioneer's gavel rang out. Now we begin the auction of some very special items. A crowd of imprisoned people was paraded before the bidders. These people had become the playthings of the wealthy. In the prison's deepest darkness, Meal and Mail were locked away. They were only 6 years old then. Meal and Mail's childhood was spent inside such a cage. Their father had sold them into the underground auction house. The buyers here all had their own twisted desires, and their greatest preference was for slaves with special abilities. The sisters happened to be summoners, but their particular power was not in high demand. Just as the auction house was about to dispose of them, someone bid a high price and bought them. The buyer stared at the sisters in delight. Are these the ones who can summon angels and demons? Someone else asked curiously why he'd bother to purchase such unpopular children. I want to see what happens when an angel and a demon breed. The sisters looked blank, clearly not understanding. You're still young, you probably don't get it yet, but soon you will. This is a great invention. At that moment, a strange noise echoed above their heads. The next instant, a massive magical meteor appeared in the ceiling. A surge of overwhelming energy engulfed the whole building. With a deafening crash, the meteor struck, sending up clouds of white smoke. When the smoke cleared, a deep crater had opened in the floor. Fortunately, a barrier shielded them from the meteor's impact, though both were badly shaken. Mail and Meal too were saved by that barrier. Then laughter drifted down from above, drawing their attention. In the sky, Mago looked down at them with a gentle smile. The woman beside him was his student Lippus. Lippus seemed a bit disgruntled. That counts as teaching. I didn't even see the magic circle. Mago only smiled and said that with effort, anything was possible. Soon they got down to business. Lippus used her magic to rescue all the auctioned and imprisoned people. Just as the two were about to leave, the sisters suddenly called out, "Can you take us with you?" "Sir, you must be a summoner, and so are we." Before Mago could answer, Lippus had already refused, saying Mago only took one disciple. Mago smiled and invited the sisters to show their abilities. Immediately, the girls unleashed their summoning magic. This took Mago by surprise, since at their age, children could usually only summon toys or small animals. Their talent intrigued him deeply. "Come, little ones, let me teach you how to use magic." 3 years passed. In that time, Mago taught them to use their summoning powers correctly. Meal summoned angels, representing their mother's love. Mail summoned demons, her heart filled with hatred from her father's influence. Remember, imagination is the key to summoning. If you look at the world with wider eyes, you'll be able to summon much more. Mago was actually most curious about their future path. He never expected the sisters to answer in a way that shocked him. They were fascinated by heaven and hell. On her deathbed, their mother had told them, "Good people go to heaven, bad people go to hell." Those words became the pillar that kept them going. They wanted to restore order to the world, to create a true heaven and hell. After hearing this, Mago smiled and patted their heads. "I believe you can do it because you are kinder than anyone." Time passed until peace was suddenly broken. Lippus rushed to find Mago. "The Hero Association is asking for your help." "The Hero Association? They ignored all my advice and now they come to me." Lippus's next words made Mago's heart sink. "A Swede has appeared and he's in Finland." At this, Mago's eyes widened in shock. "Bring Meal and Mail to me. I have some things to tell them." The sisters, hearing that Mago was leaving, anxiously asked when he'd return. "This opponent is formidable. I may be gone for years." Before leaving, Mago handed them a gift. "My power is woven into your clothes. If you go to the shelter, the people there will take care of you. Don't be sad. We'll meet again. Until then, I hope you'll grow into truly kind people." After Mago left, the sisters didn't go to the shelter. Instead, they chose to live in seclusion, training their abilities in a remote place. They began to ponder a difficult question. What kind of power does it take to be truly good? What is good and what is evil? How should their powers be used? They pondered for 2 years but still couldn't find a clear answer. In the end, they returned to their hometown, determined to judge good and evil in their own way. From then on, they created their own heaven and hell. To satisfy their own desires, the sisters began monitoring everyone in the village. They even classified each villager with meticulous care. Those who met their standards were sent to the Heaven District, while those who didn't were dispatched to the Hell District. At the same time, they imposed rules on the villagers that their mother had once forced upon them as children, like not speaking during meals or never raising their voices. Intent on building a utopia, they instead turned the village into a living purgatory. The danger of ideals lies in their deceptive simplicity. The scene shifted. In pursuit of her ideals, Meal began a series of extreme measures. She relentlessly brainwashed the villagers. She showed no reaction to their fearful faces, even going so far as to execute many of them. All of this just so they might enter paradise, where they could dream forever undisturbed. As time passed, every person in the village became one of the sisters' puppets. Soon, the Hero Association learned of their deeds. The president called an emergency meeting to find a way to deal with the sisters. It wasn't long before he distributed their files to the assembled heroes. But the heroes showed little interest in a B1 level case. After all, only B2 level missions counted toward promotion. Even so, one hero was curious. Why had such a major crime occurred in an obscure little village? To answer their questions, the president explained the sisters' background in detail and specifically warned everyone. They were Mago's disciples. At the mention of Mago, the room fell silent and a quiet argument broke out. No one wanted to touch this mess. At that moment, a young woman interrupted the bickering. Sitting across the table, she slowly raised her hand. "I think I'll take this mission." The scene shifted to the outskirts of the village. Kyusu had already arrived at the gate on her motorcycle. The sight that greeted her left her stunned. Countless puppet-like halos floated above the village. No sooner had she set foot in the village than the sisters saw her through their crystal ball. But Kyusu remained oblivious, her curiosity boundless, even pausing to take selfies with the puppets. Is this a special type of ability? All it does is make people sleep. As she admired herself, a strange voice sounded behind her. The sisters suddenly appeared at her back, startling Kyusu out of her wits. "Why are you here, stranger?" Kyusu didn't answer directly. Instead, her face lit up with curiosity. "Is your ability a special category? Can you explain it to me? Does Mago know about your power? From the look on your faces, you haven't told him, have you?" The moment they heard Mago, the sisters became wary. "How do you know that name? Who are you?" "I'm your senior. I used to be Mago's disciple, though later he cast me out. He was always fascinated by anything sharp. He once told me if you want to master attack magic, you have to master defense magic first. But I never liked defense magic, so I ignored him. After that, he gradually lost interest in me. I couldn't bring myself to obey him. He was just too strict." As Kyuthu finished, her composure unraveled, tears streaming down her cheeks. "He always said I had talent, always praised me with a smile. But in the end, he was the one who cast me aside." Seeing Kyuthur's emotional breakdown, the sisters shivered involuntarily. Suddenly, a storm of weapons materialized behind Kyuthu, flying at the sisters like she'd lost all control. Meal shouted desperately, trying to snap Kyuthu out of it, but it was useless. The berserk weapons tore through the puppets in a frenzy. In that moment, Kyuthu resembled a madwoman, muttering to herself with a twisted smile. "He'll remember me again, won't he?" At this moment, she was like a wild beast completely out of control, with no regard for the value of life in her eyes. Meanwhile, the sisters used their abilities to escape to a relatively safe place, monitoring Kyuthu through their crystal ball. What they saw next made cold sweat trickle down their spines. Kyuthu was toying with the surrounding puppets like a devil, shouting excitedly, "This is even more fun than I imagined. I need more puppets. This little bit of amusement isn't nearly enough." Just as Kyuthu prepared to launch another attack, the sisters suddenly appeared to block her strike. Seeing them, a gleam of excitement flashed in Kyuthur's eyes. "Your defensive magic is impressive. Your fundamentals are solid." Before she finished speaking, a puppet appeared behind her. But such a trick was nothing for Kyuthu. It took her barely a second to destroy it. "Your defense is good, but you've neglected your attack magic. You demon. One day you'll go to hell." Kyuthu just shrugged, unconcerned. "I've always wanted to show my power in front of a crowd, but never had the chance. Even as a hero, using this ability would make me a wanted criminal. Thank you for making my wish come true." With those words, Kyuthu suddenly raised both hands, ready to unleash the power she'd longed to display. Though her strength was nearly depleted, her movements didn't hesitate for a moment. With a furious roar, a massive blade appeared out of thin air. At that moment, blood streamed from Kyuthur's eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, but she still smiled, admiring her masterpiece. In this incident, she killed countless people. And through this ordeal, her imagination grew by leaps and bounds. She'd never been able to summon such a colossal weapon before. Everything she'd achieved now she owed to the sisters. Now the game was nearly at its end. Just then, a sudden change. An enormous maw appeared and swallowed Kyuthu whole. A rat-like monster materialized, summoned by Mail. The reason Mail could call forth this creature was that she too had endured the same pain. After defeating Kyuthu, Mail was overwhelmed by intense discomfort, muttering over and over, "I killed someone." Fortunately, Meal gently comforted her, reminding her the dead was a demon. The scene shifted. A year later, the sisters arrived in a new city, where they established an even larger utopia. Meanwhile, the Hero Association reopened their case. This time, the sisters' case was upgraded to B2 difficulty. When Mago returned to the association after his mission, he caught sight of the sisters' file. The president's expression was grave as he questioned Mago. Meigo was about to set off in search of the sisters, but the president stopped him. This case will not be assigned to you. I heard you killed a Swede before coming back, but that doesn't seem to be the truth. You handed him over alive to the government. Given that, I have no reason to let you do as you please. Looks like we can't communicate any longer. As soon as Meigo finished speaking, the president slammed his hand on the table. I said you can't take this case. That's enough. You're nothing but a power-hungry maniac now. As the two reached an impasse, a voice broke through their argument. Enough, both of you. Ryasa approached. I'll go in Meigo's place. The president agreed immediately. This would be the perfect opportunity for Ryasa to earn a promotion. As she was leaving, Ryasa suddenly called out to Meigo. Her silhouette, bathed in the sunset, stood against the setting sun like a guardian emerging from the night. She told Meigo, trust me. I'll do my best to persuade them. The scene shifted once more. In that new city, the sisters, sensing another intruder through their crystal ball, exchanged glances. How much sin does this invader bear on their shoulders this time? At that moment, Ryasa had already arrived in the city where the sisters were hiding. 3 puppets floated before her, the bodies of heroes who had previously attempted this mission. Fortunately, though they'd lost consciousness, at least they were still alive. The sisters suddenly appeared, confronting Ryasa and demanding her purpose. My name is Ryasa. I'm a hero and I've come to take you back. The moment the word hero left her lips, the sisters' eyes flashed with wariness and hostility. A magic circle bloomed in Mael's hand, and countless monstrous creatures materialized behind them. Please leave now, otherwise you'll be sent straight to hell. I'm willing to go back, Ryasa replied, but in return I want you two to come with me. The scene shifted. The fight had already begun, but Ryasa's strength was overwhelming. The sisters quickly wiped out all her summoned beasts. You're both good children, Ryasa said softly. In your attacks I sensed no intent to kill. If everyone who came for you was as kind as you are, things wouldn't be so complicated. You've defeated those who stood in your way, but even as you did, you wondered if you were in the right. With Ryasa drawing closer step by step, fear flickered in the sisters' eyes. Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. But what you've done is still wrong. Your teacher is heartbroken. At the mention of teacher, the sisters froze. Don't put your faith in impossible dreams anymore. Just then, a gentle hand reached out. Let me release your power. Let's go back together. Your teacher is still waiting for you. Something in Ryasa's warmth made the sisters choose to trust her. Soon after, Meigo appeared behind them. The moment they saw him, the sisters threw themselves into his arms. Teacher, we actually have a special power, but our mother told us never to let anyone know. Teacher, we heard you only accepted summoners as students. Is that true? Meigo was surprised. Who told you that? A hero named Kyusu. That's what she said. I see. Actually, I never took her as a disciple. I only met her once at the association, gave her a little advice, that's all. On the way back, the 3 of them chatted about all that had happened over the years. The sisters talked about how hard they tried to grow, to be good girls, and wondered aloud why people always misunderstood them. But even now, they didn't fully understand themselves. Watching the sisters as they drifted off to sleep, Ryasa approached Meigo. Looks like you've finished talking, haven't you? Ryasa, can you entrust them to me? Meigo, you know what they've done. By law, forgiveness is nearly impossible for them. They've just lost their way. If you let me take them, I'll help them find the right path. You know this is hard for me too. The law now allows the death penalty for minors, but the law is the law. That's my bottom line. A hero's duty isn't to reform criminals. I understand your struggle, but this world is full of problems. Meigo, will you work with me to change it? Meigo was stunned. What do they have to do with that? Because I'm going to change this world. I agree, but I have one condition. Until they're adults, please don't let them die. Let me use my power to protect them. Ryasa agreed to his request. Let this power guard them until they grow up. Before they do, we will change the world. The scene shifted. Seo Gangyu finished listening to the sisters' story. That familiar question echoed again, reminding him of Ryasa. Will you help me change the world? The sisters, seeing Seo Gangyu, rushed to explain. We only judged by our own rules. Isn't the law just another set of rules for this world? Seo Gangyu said nothing, only lowered his head in silence. Hongjia tried to persuade him, but before she could finish, Seo Gangyu used his power to restrain her. He pressed forward, his aura closing in step by step. We did nothing wrong, please let us go. Don't come any closer, I've thought it over again. I think we really did do something wrong. Seo Gangyu remained silent, walking right up to the sisters and raising his fist. Now the sisters could feel the terror of death. Meigo's apparition slowly faded away. Seo Gangyu's fist fell and the entire prison shook with the force. Moments later, the sisters were miraculously unscathed. Seo Gangyu's fist had stopped just in front of them. His face was twisted with rage, as if wrestling with his own conscience. And then everything changed. With a piercing scream, the sisters were instantly torn apart. A woman in a gown holding a bouquet of flowers appeared before him. Seo Gangyu stared stunned as the sisters were ripped to shreds. Why do you think so much? Thinking doesn't suit you. You're even more handsome than you look on TV. Hello, my husband. Your bride has arrived. Just as she was about to introduce herself, Seo Gangyu's fist was already flying toward her face. But that unstoppable punch was easily blocked by the man standing behind the woman. Cannies, don't be impulsive. He'll be your master soon enough. Let me introduce myself first. The woman had barely finished speaking when Seo Gangyu struck again. This punch nearly tore the air apart but was still stopped by the woman's power. You really have no patience, do you? Since we'll be spending a long time together, why not have a proper conversation? My name is Sinka. My ability is to manipulate space. I am the Eve of the new humanity. At that, Seo Gangyu froze. After a few moments of silence, he just muttered how tired he was. I'm just so tired, mentally exhausted. And now another crazy woman shows up. Sinka didn't seem bothered at all. I might be the most rational person in the world. Did you know? Humanity is teetering on the edge of extinction, regressing with every step. If things go on like this, we'll die out. Seo Gangyu, who do you think is the greatest threat to mankind? Is it those wicked criminals or the heroes of the past? Actually, it's neither. In my eyes, they're not even real threats. The true rot at the heart of humanity comes from those without power who call themselves ordinary people. These genes must be eliminated. Only superior genes deserve to be passed on. But because of the sacrifices of the strong, the genes that should have been wiped out have spread even further. Take Rayas's second-generation equality heroes, for example. They had extraordinary genes and yet they're dead. According to nature's law, those who cannot evolve are meant to be eliminated. But they tried to defy the heavens. And you, Seo Gangyu, possess even more perfect genes. Right now, you're already enjoying the thrill of hunting the weak. From the moment I saw you, I was drawn to you. This prison is a gathering place for the superhuman new breed. If we clear out all the heroes who stand in the way of evolution, inferior humans will eventually disappear. We will build a world where only the strong survive. I call it Alpha World. Don't worry. If those heroes are willing to join us, we'll accept them too. We're not extremists. I'll avoid harming innocents as much as possible. But the birth of a new world inevitably will be written in blood. In the world I create, you'll be Adam of the new era. And I'll be Eve. The children we bear will lead humanity's evolution. At first, I thought Hwang Seungwon was Adam, which is why I saved him with an electromagnetic pulse. Seo Gangyu had seemed indifferent, but now his expression finally shifted. But the security in this prison was far stronger than I anticipated. No external attack could breach it. That's why, when we got our hands on the prison layout, we decided to use the electromagnetic pulse. After rescuing Hwang Seungwon, I spoke with him. He's still underage, hasn't even reached puberty. You know, abilities only fully awaken in adulthood. But I don't have that much time, so I found a more efficient solution. Until Hwang Seungwon comes of age, I'll stand with you. For the sake of humanity, when he matures, we'll work together. Because I've already found a way to solve your genetic problem, I'll make sure both your superior genes are passed on. What do you think? The two of you can form a family without blood ties. This way, you might even find reconciliation. I trust you know what I mean. Suddenly, a murderous aura surged from Seo Gangyu. You're the mastermind behind that electromagnetic attack, aren't you? No, I was talking about something else. Your brother was a guard. He died in that electromagnetic assault. But we can build another family. I'll make it bigger and bigger. So what do you think of my proposal? As soon as she finished, Seo Gangyu raised his hand. He was like a wild beast unleashed, muttering over and over through clenched teeth. This damned woman, I'm going to tear you apart. At this moment, he was like a maddened beast, tearing through the woman's spatial barrier with his bare hands. You really are dangerous. And full of energy, too. Before the woman even finished speaking, Seo Gangyu's attack was already upon her, but she diffused it effortlessly with her ability. Seeing how slippery she was, Seo Gangyu realized he was in for a tough fight. He immediately leapt into the air, looking for an opening. But the woman reappeared at altitude, teleporting with her spatial powers. Let's talk for a while, but before we talk, you need to calm down. With that, she vanished from sight. Seo Gangyu unleashed his ability again, racing back to the prison at incredible speed. His killing intent had only grown stronger. In a blink, his signature cross-shaped slash cleaved toward the woman once more. At the same time, he flashed right in front of her. No matter how quick or ferocious Seo Gangyu's assault, he still couldn't lay a finger on her. She could slip away at any moment, vanishing from his reach with spatial magic. Now the two of them seemed to be playing a deadly game of hide and seek. No matter how fiercely Seo Gangyu attacked, he simply couldn't touch her. Far from unsettled, the woman seemed even more intrigued by his frustration. It's about to shut down. I hope you can catch me before it does. Just then, Seo Gangyu suddenly activated Mode 1. one hand transforming into a razor-sharp claw. The woman watched him with great interest, asking what modifications he'd made to the B1 base. She was distracted for just a second, and Xiao Gangyu's claw was already at her face. He'd opened a new form, his speed soaring to another level. But even so, he couldn't catch her. No, you're even faster now, but you still can't touch me. The next instant, Xiao Gangyu used his speed to dart continuously through her spatial domain. When he finally seemed about to catch her, his claw hung frozen in the air. Suddenly, the man behind her moved like a serpent, coiling around Xiao Gangyu. In the next moment, Xiao Gangyu vanished from where he stood. He reappeared, slamming the man to the ground. But the man disappeared the moment he hit the floor, and instantly reappeared unharmed at the woman's side. Neither of them seemed bothered by Xiao Gangyu's efforts. Instead, they teased each other, trading jokes at his expense. Hearing their taunts, Xiao Gangyu's rage flared once again. You've already wasted so many precious genes. Are we really going to fight each other to the death? Xiao Gangyu didn't answer. He simply and silently switched to mode 5. At last, the woman's smile faded. Her eyes grew resolute. She began chanting, and portals opened all around them. The sight left Xiao Gangyu truly shaken. My beloved husband, these are the new humans of this era. They will inherit the world from the old. As the magic array completed, the criminals from the third basement floor stepped out one by one. I can't believe Mago is dead. He should have been mine to deal with. A Swede summoner type. Ho, physical type. Vriatua, physical type. Natura, physical type. Bachanil, special type. Vedi, special type. Mors, physical type. Hyanjuyang, special type. Next, the criminals from the fourth basement floor emerged. Jintatsu, special and physical type. Zdivna, physical type. Terapia, physical type. Maldity, firearms summoner and special type. As time passed, Xiao Gangyu's mind began to waver. A familiar figure approached slowly. The prisoners from the fifth sublevel had arrived. Nahur, special type. And Hwang Seungwon. When Hwang Seungwon appeared, a terrifying force erupted around Xiao Gangyu. He unleashed his ultimate form, Mode 0. Seeing this, Hwang Seungwon showed not the slightest fear. Instead, a smile curved his lips. In that moment, the two of them saw no one but each other. With a thunderous roar, their battle finally erupted, the ferocious shockwaves rippling through the entire prison. This is a truly savage fight. Let's hope no one else gets caught up in it. Meanwhile, the prison guards on the other levels scrambled to escape. What the hell is happening down there? The scene shifted. Xiao Gangyu and Hwang Seungwon were locked in a relentless clash, while the other criminals watched the spectacle in rapt attention. Most of them had never seen Xiao Gangyu like this before, so this is why Rayasa tried to stop Xiao Gangyu from going all out. Maybe this is what it's like when the god of death descends. Seeing the full extent of Xiao Gangyu's power, every criminal's expression changed. Some felt awe, some a jealous longing to possess that strength for themselves, and some were even overcome with sorrow at such overwhelming might. But only one person was different. Hwang Seungwon. Only he was genuinely delighted. Why have you never used this against me before? Your potential is unbelievable. Even before Hwang Seungwon finished speaking, Xiao Gangyu's fist was already at his face. I'm guessing you've got something else planned, right? As Hwang Seungwon spoke, a string of blue orbs materialized in front of Xiao Gangyu. The two were so close that Xiao Gangyu couldn't completely avoid the barrage. Still, the damage only forced him a few steps back. He quickly steadied himself and charged at Hwang Seungwon again. Just as he was about to land a blow, Xiao Gangyu's palm froze in midair. I already compressed the space in front of me. A split second later, an explosion erupted right before Xiao Gangyu. What a terrifying kid. He's become this strong purely on his own. He doesn't even look like he's come of age yet. What kind of monster will he turn into when he grows up? Xiao Gangyu, where are you hiding? I know this little trick won't hurt you. Come on out, keep fighting me. Before the words were finished, Xiao Gangyu's figure flashed into view, his fist smashing into Hwang Seungwon's face. Blood spurted from Hwang Seungwon's mouth. Another punch landed square in his gut. This battle was a showdown between monsters. While others gawked at the scene, their heads were suddenly blown clean off. When gods clash, mortals pay the price. Xiao Gangyu charged at a Swede next, but was blocked by Mago's magical barrier. Mago's barrier really is a masterpiece. Seeing your teammates' magic, doesn't it make you nostalgic? The moment those words left his mouth, Xiao Gangyu exploded with rage, shattering the barrier to pieces in an instant. As the shield fell, another figure appeared and kicked Xiao Gangyu away. But to Xiao Gangyu now, that attack barely mattered. Bones cracked and that fearsome look returned to his eyes. He was just about to strike again when Hwang Seungwon interrupted once more. Right now, you're just here to play with me. But no matter how I look at you, you haven't changed at all. That timid look. Are you scared of hurting the guards? You're still the same old coward. But for my own amusement, I'll build a paradise just for the two of us. As Hwang Seungwon's hand tightened, that familiar suffocating pressure returned. Defenses that had once seemed unbreakable now felt as fragile as paper before Hwang Seungwon's power. Now the real game begins. To ensure that both of them could fight at full strength, Hwang Seungwon decided to create a battlefield just for the two of them. The aftershocks of their clash sent tremors through the entire prison. In order to protect the surviving guards, Seo Gangyu had no choice but to use his own powers to restrain Hwang Seungwon. I didn't expect this prison to be even sturdier than I imagined. While Hwang Seungwon was caught up in his excitement, a flash of red suddenly appeared before him. But this surprise attack was blocked by a surge of spatial power. Not far away, a woman raised her hand, using her ability to shield Hwang Seungwon from harm. Mr. Seo Gangyu, you shouldn't interrupt someone while they're using their abilities. There's far too much dust in here. Why don't we take this elsewhere? As soon as the woman finished speaking, Jin Tatsu reached for a stone on the ground. She activated her power, and the unremarkable stone instantly transformed into a longsword. Even the woman couldn't help but marvel at the sight, though she was more curious about what Jin Tatsu intended to do. Jin Tatsu swung the longsword, slashing swiftly at the great gate before her. The woman was left a little speechless, even teasing, "Looks like we can just walk out through here." The scene shifted to a bustling city street, where all the passers-by stopped in fear, staring ahead. Seo Gangyu had appeared out of nowhere, but as a magic circle glowed beneath his feet, he vanished from the crowd in an instant. When he reappeared, he was already high in the air. Before him hovered a massive orb. As Hwang Seungwon moved his hand ever so slightly, the orb responded. The next moment, it exploded right before Seo Gangyu's eyes. When the smoke cleared, a giant crater had been gouged into the earth. Seo Gangyu's figure appeared at the bottom, his twisted face the first thing to emerge from the shadows. The attack had clearly dealt him a significant blow. Not far away, the woman and the other prisoners watched the battle intently. At last, no one can interfere with their showdown. Let's enjoy it to the fullest. The other prisoners seemed to agree by default. There was a simple reason why even these troublesome figures fell in line. The woman had brought her vision of utopia to every last one of them. She had visited each prisoner in the prison, promising to fulfill their every desire. She deftly exploited the prisoners' longing for freedom, drawing them all into her alpha world. Of course, there were some who refused to play along. A Swede, for instance, never intended to join her cause. The woman only looked at him with a hint of pity. If you choose to refuse, there's only one outcome for you: death. In the end, the woman sought out Hwang Seungwon and shared her ideals with him. After hearing her out, Hwang Seungwon couldn't help but throw his head back and laugh. You want to marry Seo Gangyu just for that reason. And you even plan to wait until I'm grown up to marry me. You really are something else. But let me ask you, I think fighting Seo Gangyu is a lot more interesting than any of your empty promises. If all you chase is the thrill of the moment, you'll always be a slave to dopamine. You should think further ahead. If you kill Seo Gangyu, what fun will you have left? Hwang Seungwon just smiled. Maybe I'll be the one who dies in the end, but I won't regret it. At least I'll die enjoying myself. At that, the woman sighed. I'll give you and Seo Gangyu each a child. When they grow up, they'll bring you even more joy. Once you reach adulthood, your powers will be even greater. When that day comes, your battles with Seo Gangyu will be even more spectacular. We should look at life with a longer view. If you choose me, I'll make sure you never stop enjoying yourself. The two of them locked eyes for a long moment. In the end, Hwang Seungwon agreed to her proposal. But let's be clear. I don't like you, so how are we supposed to get married? The woman didn't mind at all. With absolute confidence, she looked at him and said, I'll make you fall in love with me. The scene shifted again. No one knew how long the two had been fighting. Now, Hwang Seungwon looked a little worse for wear. Looks like I can't hold you off with just one hand anymore. Are you going to stay silent forever? Or is it that you're unable to speak at all right now? Do you know what I'm holding? This is your brother. Hearing those words, rage surged through Seo Gangyu. Now he was like a beast completely out of control. The once missing piece of his face was slowly healing. In this moment, he was utterly consumed by madness, hurling himself at Hwang Seungwon with everything he had. Yet his opponent remained as calm as ever. As Hwang Seungwon's power flared, the rubble on the ground began to float. In the blink of an eye, the stones formed into sharp spikes. The next instant, all the stone spikes shot toward Seo Gangyu in perfect unison. Seo Gangyu didn't dodge. Instead, he accelerated his charge. He raised his right arm, gathering power. A second later, fist and stone collided with explosive force. At the moment of impact, the spikes dissolved back into plain stones. Just then, Seo Gangyu's sharp instincts sensed danger. The orb that had been in Hwang Seungwon's hand suddenly appeared right in front of him. As Seo Gangyu drew back his fist to strike, the orb abruptly changed trajectory. He hesitated for just a fraction of a second, and the orb launched its attack. He tried to brace himself, but the force was overwhelming. In just a second, he was smashed into the stone wall. The orb returned to Hwang Seungwon's hand, accompanied by his distinctive laugh. Looks like you hesitated just now. You still can't go all out, can you? Suddenly, I've got a brilliant idea. What if I swallow this thing? Would you be able to attack me then? But it's really too big. I guess I'd better compress it first. But before he could finish, Seo Gangyu's foot crashed down on Hwang Seungwon. Caught off guard, Hwang Seungwon coughed up blood from the sudden blow. With a resounding bang, Hwang Seungwon was pinned firmly underfoot. Seo Gangyu raised his fist again, smashing it down mercilessly onto Hwang Seungwon's face. There was a complexity in that punch, enough to make the ground itself tremble. At that moment, a faint voice rang out. Hwang Seungwon suddenly twisted, grabbing Seo Gangyu by the wrist. In the next instant, a burst of blue light erupted before him. Seo Gangyu instinctively tried to retreat, only to find his body utterly paralyzed. Then a surge of blue energy shot skyward, blazing like a meteor in the night. What a dazzling display of power. If only the two of them could reconcile, how wonderful that would be. But the man behind them dismissed that hope with cold certainty. The battle was drawing to its close. Now Hwang Seungwon stared weakly ahead, while Seo Gangyu, breath-ragged, had already slipped out of Mode 0. Though Seo Gangyu was battered and exhausted, his eyes still burned with murderous intent. Suddenly, a fresh wave of energy erupted from him. It was so enormous that even the prisoners far away were swallowed in its shadow. A mass of dark red, web-like matter rose from the ground. Seeing this, Hwang Seungwon let out a bitter laugh. How many more tricks do you have hidden up your sleeve? It seems I really can't beat you. Seo Gangyu, what does it feel like to kill someone? Are you just like me? No matter how easily you end them, it never brings true satisfaction. Fighting me, finally releasing everything you've been holding in. Doesn't it feel good? You must have suffered so much before, always having to suppress your abilities for the sake of others. Shut up. You don't know anything about me. At that, Hwang Seungwon only laughed, then changed the subject. So this is your final move, isn't it? I'm honestly curious. If I really did grow up like he said, could I ever defeat you as you are now? Seo Gangyu shot him down. That will never happen. You'll die here. As soon as he spoke, that domain-like ability was unleashed. The woman watched anxiously, desperate to know what was happening inside. She activated her own power. A spatial rift tore open inside the domain, and what she saw left her stunned. Hwang Seungwon's body had been pierced by countless crimson threads. He seemed to have lost all signs of life. Seeing this, the woman called out Hwang Seungwon's name in desperation, as if trying to bring him back with her voice. In that instant, she raised her hand, and the next moment she appeared by Hwang Seungwon's side. At the same time, Tamoki approached and reached his hand directly into Hwang Seungwon's body. I didn't expect this guy to protect his vital points even in this condition. His fighting instincts are far beyond normal. Alright, the operation is done. Now we just wait for him to wake up. Tamoki glanced down at his arm, which was now imbued with Seo Gangyu's power. Confronted with that force, he couldn't help but mutter, power like this, it's impossible to feel at ease. Without hesitation, he severed his own arm, and in the next second it grew back good as new. So what should we do with Seo Gangyu now? Why not just kill him? The woman immediately cut them off. Before that, I want to have a proper conversation with him. The scene shifted. Seo Gangyu staggered to his feet, the energy he'd unleashed moments ago having nearly drained him dry. He fixed his gaze on the object before him, then slowly reached out and took it in his hand. Staring at what he held, a look of sorrow crossed Seo Gangyu's face. As if thinking of his brother, he should have been a father by now. As he was lost in grief, the woman suddenly appeared. Seo Gangyu, come with me. It's not too late to turn back. Her words reignited Seo Gangyu's fury. He struggled to summon his power but found his strength fading fast. I don't understand why you're so stubborn. Just then, a bolt of yellow lightning crackled around Seo Gangyu. Looks like your talk fell apart. Let's finish him while he's still down. No objections, right? In the next instant, most of the prisoners voiced their agreement. Killing frightens me, but having him alive scares me even more. Finally, we can get rid of this monster. As the crowd debated how to deal with Seo Gangyu, a voice cut through the noise, drawing everyone's attention. Hiro's body suddenly swelled to mammoth proportions, making the other prisoners seem as tiny as ants in his eyes. Out of my way. Don't block me. He threw a colossal punch. The next moment, his massive fist crashed down on Seo Gangyu, shaking the earth itself. Seo Gangyu didn't dodge. He took the blow head-on, holding the orb in his arms as if unwilling to let it suffer even the slightest harm. Immediately, all the prisoners unleashed their abilities at Seo Gangyu. No one knew how much time passed. Eventually, Seo Gangyu collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath, but still clutching the orb tight in his hands. Goodbye, Seo Gangyu. Let's end it all here. Just as Hiro was about to deliver the finishing blow, a burst of blue light exploded beneath his feet. In the distance, Hwang Seungwon was approaching. I remember you said when I'm grown, I'll be stronger. You know, this is the first time in my life I've ever had a dream. And my dream is to defeat Seo Gangyu with my own hands. So don't kill him. I'll handle him myself. His words instantly ignited the prisoners' fury. For them, Xiao Gangyu was the greatest threat of all. Just then, an irresistible voice resounded. Everyone listen up. Return now immediately. A series of portals materialized before their eyes. The prisoners filed through, obeying the order. As Huang Xunwen prepared to leave, he looked back at Xiao Gangyu one last time. Xiao Gangyu, next time we meet, I'll be the one to defeat you. After this battle, 8 third-level prisoners, 5 from the 4th and 3 from the 5th, all escaped thanks to Xiao Gangyu's defeat. No one knew when Kingston had appeared above the crater. Looks like something big is about to happen to this world. As Kingston predicted, before long, the world would undergo a sweeping transformation. After Sinka had transported the prisoners to Alpha World, she recorded a video and sent it to them. This is a brand new world. On behalf of Alpha World, I welcome you. I am the creator of this world, and soon I will be the woman beside Eve. I know you must have questions. What exactly is Alpha World? Simply put, this is the new world we are about to build. Here, no one will struggle to make a living. Whatever you desire, you can obtain. But if you wish to become a member of Alpha World, there are a few conditions you must meet. First, you must possess powerful abilities. Second, you cannot advocate for those with unselected genes. Finally, you must be healthy. Only the healthy are qualified to reproduce. Those with unselected genes will be executed. Over the next month, we will screen for the new humans who will join Alpha World. If you refuse our invitation, you will face ruthless retribution. I hope you will consider carefully. The scene shifted to an empty conference room, tense with unease. As you all must know by now, the Rculus prison incident has occurred. The meeting will now begin. The woman before us is the mastermind behind the electromagnetic pulse. Her name does not appear in the Hero Association's records. At these words, those present began to murmur among themselves. I can't believe such a major event has happened so soon after the death of the Equality Hero. Just then, a man interrupted the discussions. Before we begin, we need to clarify a few things. Without higher authorization, how could Rculus prison warden Jo Siyun delegate the power of execution to someone else? She's just a warden. What right does she have to let another person decide matters of life and death at will? Have you considered the consequences? An older member immediately countered. Given those emergency circumstances, she made the best possible choice. If I'd been in her place, I would have done the same. No matter how urgent, she should have at least made a brief report. You're wrong. Not even a second could be wasted then. At that moment, only Xiao Gangyu could help her. I think even you can agree with that, Elgido. While I do believe giving any individual the power to execute criminals at will is problematic, I can understand the decision. After all, this was an unprecedented situation. Looking at things now, I'm worried civilians will suffer even more. The suffering has already begun. Ever since that broadcast, public order has collapsed. What we need to figure out now is whether this is war or just a prison break. No sooner had he finished than someone slammed their fist on the table. I warned you long ago. These people had to die. Your delays in carrying out executions led to this mess. If this had happened when I was chairman, they would have been put to death already. Unbelievable. You let captured criminals live, and it only causes more problems. Ever since Rayasa became chairman, this world has been going downhill. Immediately, a member of the Harmony Party shot back. When you were chairman, even the heroes under you were mentally unstable. Just look at what Rayasa's done. People who could have been heroes ended up as criminals. You're all lost in your fantasies of an ideal world, blind to reality. At that moment, an authoritative voice cut through the argument. Have you not argued enough? If Rayasa were here, I'd like to hear what she'd say. The room fell silent at once. A moment later, a man got into his car, complaining to his secretary about what had just happened. Ever since Rayasa became chairman, the attitudes of the WSC members have changed completely. The Harmony Party, Fire Department, Defense Ministry, and the head of the Hero Association all advocate peace, while only the World Party and the police support strict punishment. The only neutral party left is the Justice Ministry. Even the president leans toward Rayasa's camp. Right now, the position of Hero Association chairman is vacant. If we install the right person, we can restore balance. That's why I want to choose Xiao Gangyu. He may be close to Rayasa, but he's changed now. Meanwhile, in his unconscious state, Xiao Gangyu found himself trapped in memories he had long avoided. When he first joined the Equality Organization, he too had asked everyone the same question. When I first joined, I had the same thoughts as you. You'll find your own answers in the Equality Organization. You want me to kill someone with my own hands. Don't be ridiculous. If being a hero means having to kill, I'd rather not be a hero at all. My little sister is a prisoner. She made mistakes, but I believe she deserves a chance at redemption. That's a good question. So let's look at it from another angle. Why must heroes kill criminals? Is it because they no longer have any value alive, or because they've forfeited their right to be human? A hero's duty isn't to kill criminals, but to save them. From this moment on, let's save the world together. Seo Gangyu's heart was in turmoil. Why did everyone leave before giving me an answer? A prison guard's job is to reform criminals. I'm not against the death penalty, but as a guard before they die, I have to make them understand their crimes. The law judges people, and we are the ones who carry out the sentence. That's why we always say a few words before the execution. At that moment, a red rain began to fall in Seo Gangyu's inner world. Hwang Seungwon appeared as well, holding a part of his brother's body. This feeling, isn't it interesting to you too? So much has happened, and everyone is still saying such hopeless things. You should listen to your own heart. In the next instant, Seo Gangyu jolted awake, gasping for breath, as if he hadn't yet escaped his nightmare. Just then, a woman's voice rang out. You're finally awake. Seo Gangyu, are you all right? When Seo Gangyu saw who it was, surprise flashed across his face. I'm sorry. I should have helped you. But because the warden hid the truth, I couldn't get there in time. Seo Gangyu replied calmly, it's fine. Even if you had been there, you couldn't have helped me. I heard about your mission in the prison. Did you really execute those criminals? Seo Gangyu was silent for a moment, anger surging within him. I should have killed them all, but I couldn't do it. Lippus, did you come to persuade me not to kill? If so, you can leave. I'm no longer a hero. Lippus was stunned, quickly trying to explain her true intentions. We need to reorganize the team and choose a new leader for the Equality Organization. For now, I'm acting as the association's chair. After everything that's happened, we need new leadership. So we hope you, as a former member of the organization, will take the position. Didn't you hear me? I said I'm not a hero anymore. Once I recover, I'll do what I think is right. Lippus tried to persuade him again, but was interrupted by an elderly voice. Seo Gangyu was right. The speaker was none other than Udoriti, the former chair of the Hero Association. I came to talk to you about becoming chairman, but it seems there's nothing left to say. I wish you a swift recovery. Lippus, let's just wait and see how things unfold. Lippus was frustrated. Do you really think anyone will choose you? Udoriti only gave a meaningful smile. We'll see about that. Lippus still wanted to persuade Seo Gangyu, but he coldly asked her to leave. A moment later, Udoriti got back into his car. As expected, everyone's trying to build connections. I think in the next few days, more people will come looking for Seo Gangyu. Organizations like theirs have become too dependent on powerful individuals. The WSC will probably discuss Seo Gangyu's executions, and even whether to give him the authority to carry out death sentences. By the current law, what Seo Gangyu did doesn't stand up in court. If that's the case, what will you do? The scene shifted to a WSC meeting. If the law is clear, then we must punish the warden of Rculus prison. This was a special situation. Even if my subordinates did the same, I would choose to look the other way. There's no point arguing any further. All you ever do is talk about ideals. Idealism. I've already provided a solution. The Fire Army and the Hero Association will join forces to apprehend the criminals and hand them over to the law. At this, Udoriti spoke up loudly. That's your solution. That's utterly absurd. Bezet intervened, signaling Udoriti to offer his opinion. Udoriti proposed, let's hold a national referendum. Let the people decide whether Seo Gangyu should be granted the power to execute criminals. As expected, Udoriti's proposal sparked a tremendous uproar. He said this way everything will become much clearer, and there will be no need for endless arguments. Everyone here is working for the good of the people. I think you should all be able to accept this approach. However, Einheit disagreed. He believed that letting the masses decide such a question by referendum was extremely risky. Udoriti, seeing this, began to mock him. I understand why you're against it. Because you're afraid you'll lose the vote. The two continued to argue until Bezet stepped in again, urging everyone to respect the outcome of the vote. 2 weeks later, the secretary announced the results. 88% in favor, 12% against. Upon hearing this, Udoriti gave a satisfied smile. The secretary summarized the supporters' views. They believe this incident was a declaration of war. The enemy must be eliminated completely. These opponents are not bound by reason. The law has no effect on them. Besides Seo Gangyu, other heroes should also be given execution authority. The opponents, on the other hand, argued that Seo Gangyu was too emotional, which could cloud his judgment and make it far too dangerous to give him such power. Because once personal judgment supersedes the law, society is always on the verge of collapse. After the secretary finished, Einheit spoke. We should do our best to balance both sides so that everyone can accept the outcome. At this, Udoriti flew into a rage. You still want everyone to be satisfied. How naive. Bezet interrupted once more, bring Seo Gangyu in. I'd like to speak with him privately. The scene shifted to an office. Bezet asked, you should already know the results. So what is your decision? Seo Gangyu replied, I'll respect the outcome and carry it out myself. Bezet nodded. I have 3 questions for you. If the result had gone the other way, what would you have done? Seo Gangyu answered coldly, I would have dealt with everyone and then turned myself in. Bezit thought for a moment, then pressed on. Second question. If Rayasa were still alive, what do you think her decision would be? Seo Gangyu was silent for a moment. That's something you should ask her, not me. One last question, when this is all over, do you still want to be a hero? Seo Gangyu didn't answer immediately. He turned and left the office. Maybe, but who can say? Once everything's settled, I'll give it some real thought. A few days later, the front page of the newspapers announced a new special law. Bezit held a press conference. In light of the Rculus prison break, Officer Seo Gangyu is hereby authorized to execute all criminals. Once the dust had settled, Udoriti and the others wore satisfied smiles. But no one realized that far away, Sinka and her group were also watching the broadcast closely. I didn't expect them to play it this way. Looks like it's our turn to take the stage. Soon after, strange phenomena began appearing all over the world. A blue ring of light appeared in the sky, with an envelope suspended below it, and green magic circles flickered in the air. Every time a green circle lit up, some corner of the world was struck by a mysterious attack. In the distance, the criminals reveled in the chaos. Moors complained to a Swede, "How can you just attack at random without knowing who's who? What if someone we want to invite gets hurt?" But a Swede replied calmly, "If they can't even survive this trial, they're not worth inviting anyway." At that moment, Sinka's face appeared on screens across the internet and every television in the world. She waved to everyone in a friendly manner. "Hello, everyone. I'm Sinka. From now on, we'll be carrying out our mission. If you haven't received an invitation, there's only one fate for you: to disappear from the face of the earth." At the same time, Seo Gangyu once again donned his familiar battle suit, ready to face whatever came next. In order to prevent the situation from spiraling further out of control, those in power convened another WCS meeting. Before we begin, let's review the profiles of the criminals. A Swede, captured once by Mago, possesses a unique ability. He can copy the skills of others and engrave those powers onto his own tattoos. Ho, caught by Jayut, can transform her body into that of a fox spirit. Deep down, it seems she's always searching for someone strong enough to conquer her. Hyan Juyung, apprehended by the hero Hub, is able to summon demons. Moors, captured by the hero Tommy. Her abilities are extremely complex, and she's a firm believer in Sinka's theories. The Hero Association has already taken action. Heroes near Portugal will assist us in dealing with this incident. In this situation, firefighters are to prioritize rescuing civilians, while the military and police must be ready to ensure their safety at all times. Now Aljido wears Seo Gangyu. After watching the broadcast with the warden, he immediately set out for the criminals' hideout. Does anyone here know what their real objective is? The scene shifted. Sinka was issuing orders to the criminals. Our goal is to eliminate those with unselected genes and help those who received invitations. At first, we need to start small, let them have a taste of the benefits, so it'll be easier to recruit the other invitees. For now, I want everyone to focus and bring as many people as possible into Alpha World. If you really can't help yourselves, you can prioritize dealing with those completely lacking genetic traits. Moments later, the group dispersed to carry out their tasks, but Moors suddenly called a few of them back. "I think you've had enough fun. Now it's time to do what Sinka asked." The two reluctantly agreed, but a Swede objected, "Don't interfere with my plan. As long as I keep wrecking the city, the people we want to invite are bound to show up. So you're going to go against Sinka's orders? And if I am, what are you going to do about it?" As the two argued, Hyan Juyung began chanting a spell. In the next instant, a bizarre giant bird materialized out of thin air. "Moors, just give it a rest. Even if you tell him to stop, he won't listen. A Swede, when this is over, I'm reporting your behavior to Sinka." A Swede only shrugged, "Suit yourself." No sooner had he spoken than he activated his ability again. Even after leaving prison, nothing feels different. It's boring. No matter how much I destroy, my power doesn't grow. Cursed powers really are pathetic. Looks like I'll just have to keep stealing abilities. Lost in thought, a Swede suddenly noticed a massive monster looming overhead, which in the next second came crashing down toward him. He easily blocked the attack using Mago's ability. "You've been out of prison all this time and you haven't changed a bit. Didn't you learn anything in there?" Recognizing his opponent, a Swede sneered, "Did you give Mago a proper burial?" Meanwhile, in a classroom at the Ispan Biotech Center, children were in the middle of a lesson. One child raised a hand and whispered that he was scared. The teacher smiled and reassured him, "Don't worry, I'll take you all safely to the shelter." Suddenly, an unfamiliar clapping sound echoed through the classroom. Moors had appeared in the center of the class without anyone noticing. "Well said. You really are a model teacher." As soon as she finished, the children rushed to their teacher's side and the room erupted in confusion. Moors looked a little impatient. The teacher recognized Moors and called her name. Moors smiled, "I didn't expect you to remember me. Don't be afraid, you've already received Sinka's invitation. I'm just here to escort you." The teacher stood firm. "Please leave. You're not welcome here. Mors sneered, "You're clearly not as clever as I thought, interrupting me while I'm talking. If you don't come with me, these children will be the ones to suffer." The Ispan Biotech School was established after the Meal Sisters incident, dedicated to educating gifted children. Here, hero teachers help the kids integrate into society and guide them in controlling their abilities. Suddenly, Mors tossed her hat into the air, uttering a spell. Instantly, the hat ballooned to an enormous size. The teacher was startled by the bizarre sight, and the children couldn't help but scream. Mors tapped her weapon and said coldly, "Silence." In the next second, everyone's mouths were sealed by an invisible force. No matter how they struggled, they couldn't remove it. This was Mors's unique ability. It automatically affects anyone she deems beneath her in status, both restricting and harming its targets. A classic survival of the fittest power. Now if you try anything clever, I'll deal with everyone here on the spot. You three who got invitation letters, step forward. You're all special ability users. Your powers will help Sinka create a new world. Oh, and have you decided what you'll choose yet? As Mors finished, the seal on the three children's mouths vanished. A trembling boy asked his question. Is the person you're talking about the one who appeared on TV before? Mors nodded, taking the opportunity to praise Sinka. But before she could finish, the boy flatly rejected her. That woman said she'd get rid of everyone without powers, right? But I have lots of friends without abilities. I'd never hurt them. The two children beside him spoke up to back him up. The kids then began to mock Sinka fiercely, and Mors's face grew darker by the second. Suddenly, a strange energy appeared beneath the children's feet. At the same time, butterfly-shaped marks formed on their necks. As Mors activated her power, instead of the children being injured or killed as expected, they were unharmed. It was the teacher behind them who coughed up blood. This was his special ability. He could absorb damage inflicted on gifted children and transfer it to himself. Seeing this, Mors's eyes lit up with delight. Now I understand why you were invited. Your power is perfect for a bodyguard. With you around, that's like having an extra life. But the man didn't respond, instead changing the subject. We know everything about you, Mors. Something happened to you when you were young. Before he could finish, Mors cut him off. I suppose you heard about my past from her. But it's not polite to discuss a lady's history. I didn't come here to chat, I'm here to select talent for the queen. If you're willing to hand over the children, I'll let you go. The man refused without hesitation. I won't give up a single one of these kids. Mors didn't understand and pressed for a reason. Because I'm a teacher. A teacher's duty is to protect their students. In truth, this man had once belonged to the Hero Association, with an extraordinary defense ability. He could withstand attacks from even B3 or B4 level criminals, and was always regarded as a first-tier hero. But everything changed when Udoriti became chairman. How long do you plan to be a punching bag? We don't need heroes who only know how to take hits. In Udoriti's eyes, the man's power couldn't eradicate evil on its own. Later, when Rayasa became chair, she approached the man. There's a better role for you. As a teacher, you can still be a hero. Rayasa's sincerity made the man feel respected, and in the end, he chose to become a teacher. Here's what I hope. You can try to talk to these kids. You're their teacher. They're more likely to listen to you. The man didn't answer directly, instead murmuring to himself. Mors, the world is changing. Powers appeared and war soon followed. Society has already collapsed. Countless people have sacrificed their lives for stability. If that madwoman's delusions really come to pass, our world will fall into chaos again. Mors was enraged by his words and told him to shut up. Chaos or collapse, it's none of my concern. The man calmly responded, if society really collapses, there will only be more and more children suffering like you did. Mors's brow furrowed at this. You bastard, just how much do you know about me? As I said, I know everything. Enough. Shut your mouth. As soon as Mors gave the order, iron nails began to rain from the sky, shooting wildly toward everyone. You keep spouting nonsense, thinking you know it all. Now I'm in a bad mood, so you're all going to die here. At that instant, a massive foot came crashing down on Mors's head, pinning her firmly to the ground. B3 level criminal Mors, bring out that madwoman. Madwoman? You don't mean the queen, do you? That's right. I mean her. And you as well. Mors exploded in a fury, cursing and raging with anger. At that moment, an enormous magic circle appeared beneath Seo Gangyu's feet. In the next second, chains rained down from above, binding Seo Gangyu's limbs and neck tightly. Yet Seo Gangyu remained calm and indifferent, completely unfazed. With a slight movement, the chains shattered instantly, and with a single punch, he smashed Mors into the ground once more. Witnessing this, the teacher was stunned by Seo Gangyu's power. Don't just stand there. Get the children out of here now. The teacher gave a wry smile. I'd love to, but Mors's magic still hasn't been lifted. Hearing this, Seo Gangyu landed another blow on Mors. Now Mors's breath was faint, her magic gradually dissipating, and at last the teacher and children were able to move freely. Go. Get as far away as you can. Once the children were safe, Seo Gangyu grabbed Mors by the collar. I'll say it one last time. Bring out that damned woman. Suddenly, Moore spoke. Lady Mode. In the next moment, a magic circle appeared beneath their feet, and everything within the array began to float. Seo Ganyu didn't interfere. Instead, a look of surprise crossed his face. Moments later, Moore's body transformed, shifting from a young girl into a regal woman. It's been a long time since I used this form. No sooner had she spoken than two puppets appeared behind Seo Ganyu, restraining him while Moore slipped free. She swung her weapon, then tossed her umbrella into the air. The umbrella instantly expanded, enveloping her completely. I can't believe you really showed up. Just my luck. But to Seo Ganyu, Moore's powers were nothing more than a sideshow. When Moore switched to Lady Mode, anyone who saw through her identity could acquire her special ability. Yet in Seo Ganyu's eyes, Moore's was just a puppet. A tiger doesn't concern itself with a fly. Everything she did was simply to buy time, hoping her companions would finish their missions and return safely to Sinka. But by now, Seo Ganyu's patience had run out. Looks like you never intended to bring her here. I don't know what you're talking about. If I were you, chosen by the queen, I'd be so moved I'd cry. I can't believe you'd walk away from such a chance. Seo Ganyu gave no reply, instead preparing to activate his own mode for the coming fight. Seeing this, Moores could only stall further. I know where the queen is. Cut the nonsense. I don't care about useless information. If you take your corpse to the psychic tester, you'll get your answer. Even if you make it there, you'll have to fight everyone. This time, the queen might not let you off so easily. By now, Seo Ganyu's patience was at its limit. As he closed in on Moores, he gathered his power. Just as he was about to break through Moore's defenses and finish her off, a sudden flash of light interrupted him. Cinco emerged from a rift in space-time, blocking Seo Ganyu's attack. I didn't expect you to be so eager to see me. Have you changed your mind? Moores was about to warn Cinco of the danger, when in the next instant, Seo Ganyu unleashed his full power, activating Mode 0. Opening with your full strength the moment we meet. Looks like you really haven't changed your mind. Cut the crap. I'm going to give it everything I've got to take you down. Yet Cinco only smiled, her gaze crazed and adoring. Why is it that no matter what you say about me, I don't feel sad at all? Could this be love? Seo Ganyu didn't answer. He simply walked silently toward the two of them. Cinco, unfazed, told Moores to leave and deal with those who had refused the invitation. Moores, almost as if compelled, agreed without resistance. As the two spoke, Seo Ganyu suddenly broke through the barrier and appeared, but Moores managed to teleport away just in time. She reappeared in the room where the children were, but she was in bad shape. Seo Ganyu's attack had grazed her even as she escaped. The teacher saw this and immediately evacuated the children. The scene shifted. Cinco looked up and was stunned by what she saw. The space around her was now completely enveloped by Seo Ganyu's power. Are you insane? We've only just started fighting, and you're already using something this powerful against me. Seo Ganyu's reply was cold. This is where it ends for you. I suppose only in Mode 0 could you muster this kind of power. In your current state, aren't you pushing yourself too hard? Before she could finish, Seo Ganyu suddenly launched his attack. A torrent of lightning exploded before him. But then he sensed something was wrong. Several teleportation circles appeared around him, and he was struck by his own lightning. So it's just as I thought. Your power doesn't work on yourself. Come out, cannies. God. At his words, two bodyguards appeared at Cinca's side. But when they saw the level of power Seo Ganyu was displaying, they were frozen in place. Should we have even revealed ourselves? This power is beyond anything I can comprehend. He's playing his trump card right from the start. We'd better discuss how to deal with him. Cinca considered using a teleportation circle to escape, but to her shock, she found her ability had failed. Don't waste your energy. You can't escape. This is my domain. Your journey ends here. Once you enter, there's no way out. Cinca gave a bitter smile. That's just ridiculous. At that moment, lightning crackled fiercely across Seo Ganyu's body. His fist struck Cinca's shield and the barrier began to crack. Seeing this, the two bodyguards prepared to use their full strength. Miss, I think you should remove your restraints on us. I promised Hwang Seungwon that when he grew up, I'd let him take down Seo Ganyu himself. But now, if we want to get out of here, we'll have to defeat him first. I hope Hwang Seungwon will understand. Just as they were about to release their full power, their faces twisted in pain. Cinca looked up and suddenly noticed a strange change in Seo Ganyu's domain. An old, chilling voice echoed throughout the space, sending shivers down everyone's spine. No one in this world can stand against me. It doesn't matter if there are dozens, hundreds, or thousands of enemies. They are no threat to me, because no one dares to oppose me. If you stand against me, you stand against the world. This is what it means to wield matchless power. How about it, Seo Ganyu? Don't you want to become the one and only, the unparalleled? Seo Ganyu froze, saying nothing. You're strong, but you're far from invincible. But I can help you get there. What the hell are you babbling about, old man? Where did you even come from? Before she could finish, the old man's fist was already at her chin but stopped just short of making contact. When a man's speaking, little girls shouldn't interrupt. Sinka was about to retort, only to realize blood was streaming from her nose, her anger boiling over. "You old bastard. I'll kill you." The old man just sneered, "Guess you really are mad now." Unable to endure it any longer, Sinka launched a direct counterattack. She unleashed her power, and clusters of blue orbs materialized around her. In the next instant, the orbs all hurled themselves violently at the old man. "You're just some decrepit old geezer. Stop putting on airs in front of me." But just then, the old man suddenly appeared behind Sinka. "You're impressive, your ability is strong. At your level, you might not even lose to that white-haired kid. But both you and that brat share the same fatal weakness." As soon as the words left his mouth, the old man threw a punch, the force of it like a mountain, sending Sinka flying. In midair, Sinka coughed up blood again and again, left battered and humiliated. "You really are formidable, but you rely too much on your powers, and never bothered to train your bodies. Let me show you what true strength really is." At that moment, teleportation circles began to form around the old man. Just then, Gato suddenly appeared, launching a sneak attack. The old man blocked it disdainfully with his hand, but Gato suddenly unleashed a burst of power, sending the old man flying with a powerful kick. "Interesting. Your subordinates have trained well, but they're still lacking something." Off to the side, Seo Gangyu watched the fight in silence. The old man's sudden arrival had caught him off guard, but after observing for a while, he quickly made up his mind. He decided to join forces with the old man against Sinka. The scene shifted. Bezit stared at his secretary in disbelief. "Did Kingston really show up?" "Yes, we've already contacted Seo Gangyu and he confirmed it. Kingston has always acted in secrecy. Looks like he set his sights on a new target this time. If his target is Seo Gangyu, could he be in danger?" After a round of debate, everyone agreed that Kingston would not harm Seo Gangyu. But there may be someone else here with a different agenda. With that, his gaze drifted over to Udoriti. Meanwhile, Moores finally voiced the question that had been bothering her. "Why do the kids' textbooks have files on me, including the part of my past I least want to talk about?" "It's not just you. We have detailed records on every inmate from Rculus prison. It's simply to help us understand you better. A long time ago, when Reyes and Mago first finished building the school, a guard came to us. He had only one request: make criminology a required course. That's why we know you all so well." Moores just sneered. "How ridiculous. Since you know my past, what do you think?" The teacher was about to answer when another voice cut in. "Professor, you haven't changed a bit. Why bother talking to a beast? Listen up, kids. Everything you've been taught is wrong. Today, I'm giving you a real lesson. Remember this. A person doesn't become a criminal just because of their circumstances. People swayed by emotion claim that criminals are made by their upbringing or by society, or even think they're born that way. But that's nonsense. They're just outcasts like cancer cells. And all we need to do is cut the cancer out." Udoriti barged into the school, showing no mercy as he hurled insults at Moores. "So you think I'm a cancer cell? In reality, people like you are the real problem here." "Shut up. Your excuses make me sick. Let me say this one last time. If you'd been born in another country, you'd still have ended up a worthless piece of trash. You never should have existed in this world." Moores, furious, shouted at him to stop, but Udoriti ignored her and kept sneering. "The pain you're feeling now is nothing compared to the suffering you've inflicted on others. It's getting late. I'm going to make you hurt as much as I can. Take some time to feel what your victims went through. I've got other business. 10 minutes is all I need." Seeing this, Moores immediately shifted into combat mode. A flash of blue light, and Udoriti's figure vanished. In the next instant, his fist smashed into Moores's abdomen. The force of the blow made Moores cough up blood. She quickly tried to recover and unleash her powers, but it was useless. Udoriti struck again at a speed too fast for the eye to follow. At the same time, he activated his acceleration ability. Blue light flickered. His speed was unbelievable. In an instant, Moores's body was covered in bruises from his fists. Then Udoriti grabbed Moores's head between his hands and drove his knee into her face, again and again. Her teeth were nearly shattered. "Can you feel pain now?" "Not enough. Not nearly enough." Before he even finished, Udoriti landed another vicious kick. At last, Moores managed to break free of his grip and tried to use her powers. A few puppets appeared behind Udoriti, but he only glanced at them with disdain. A flash of blue, and all the puppets collapsed useless. Udoriti ramped up his power again, accelerating to 4 times his normal speed. His fist slammed into Moores's face, distorting her features beyond recognition. She was sent flying several meters. Before she could even hit the ground, Udoriti appeared behind her like a ghost, driving his elbow into her back and sending her soaring skyward, as if determined to shatter her bones. But it wasn't over. With a sudden burst of strength, Udoriti pushed off with his feet and leapt into the air. A relentless barrage of blows rained down on Moores. She was utterly helpless, a punching bag in midair, unable to fight back. With everyone watching, Udoriti slowly brought his hands together and sent a tremendous force crashing into Mors's abdomen. The blow landed like a cannon, the dull boom shaking everyone to the core. When the smoke cleared, Mors's face was so mangled she was barely recognizable. Hurts, doesn't it? But this is only what you deserve. It's not enough. The pain you and your kind have brought to victims and their families goes even deeper than this. 3 minutes left. At that moment, Mors finally guessed Udoriti's ability. You can accelerate time. That's right, just as you thought. I can manipulate time for myself and for anything or anyone I touch. Which means I can slow down your time whenever I want, and then torture you slowly, letting you die in endless agony. After that, Udoriti began torturing Mors with his ability. To outsiders, only 30 seconds had passed, but to Mors, the agony felt like a century. Now Mors was utterly unrecognizable from the torment. What a pity. If I had more time, I'd make your suffering last even longer. Just then, Mors suddenly burst out laughing. Udoriti, hearing her laughter, looked puzzled. What are you laughing at? So scared of dying you've lost your mind. I am afraid of death, but that's not why I'm laughing. I just never thought I'd fulfill my mission this way. What are you talking about? As long as I die, everyone affected by my power will go to hell with me. At these words, everyone present felt a chill run through them. Udoriti glanced back over his shoulder, deep in thought. The scene shifted. Kingston squared off, ready to face both Gato and Canis. The two charged at Kingston together, but he easily blocked their attacks with his bare hands. His counterattacks were swift and direct, every punch landing like lightning, leaving a flurry of marks on their bodies. At this point, Gato's eyes were blazing with fury. In a flash, he appeared right before Kingston. But before he could touch him, Kingston's hand was already poised above his head like a blade. With a twist of the wrist, Kingston slammed Gato to the ground. Canis quickly shouted for him to remove the collar. But before he could finish, Kingston's fist smashed into his face. You two really think too highly of yourselves. You think your powers are so great you need collars to restrain them. You overestimate yourselves. Let me teach you a lesson. As soon as he finished, Kingston vanished in a blur. Gato and Canis' arms fell to the ground. Don't bother me again. Get a doctor to sew your arms back on. Meanwhile, Sinka was desperately defending herself, and she finally recognized who the old man was. But before she could react, Seo Gangyu sent her flying with a single punch. As soon as Sinka managed to steady herself, Seo Gangyu charged in once more. She immediately activated her ability, warning Seo Gangyu not to come any closer. But at this point, Seo Gangyu couldn't hear a thing, as if he'd lost himself to madness. He drove his foot into Sinka's abdomen, then fixed her with a fierce stare. Seo Gangyu, you can't kill me. Please think this through. Before she could finish, Seo Gangyu's fist came crashing down again. Now Seo Gangyu seemed to be venting all his emotions, every blow more violent than the last. As he prepared for the killing strike, Kingston stepped in to block him. That's enough. Even if you killed her now, it wouldn't be by your own strength. To become truly invincible, you can't rely on anyone else. Elsewhere in the school, you have a sacrificial ability, don't you? That's right. If I die, my power will transfer instantly. So what are you going to do about it? Udoriti's expression darkened. Listen up, everyone. I'll offer you a moment of silence in advance. With those words, Udoriti drove his hand straight through Mors's heart. Mors was completely caught off guard by the blow. If she survives, we'll heal her and have her lift her power. So you all can live. But if she escapes again, tens of thousands will die because of it. So now killing her here, sacrificing you all, is the only rational choice. When treating cancer, some healthy cells are bound to be lost. For the greater good, sacrifice is inevitable. So thank you for your sacrifice. Just like that, Udoriti ended Mors's life. At the same time, a final surge of energy began to radiate from Mors's body. This energy is nothing to take lightly. Luckily, it only activates after her death. It's time for me to leave. I wish you all the best, though perhaps you don't even need my blessing. Your endurance is truly extraordinary. Maybe you've simply grown tired of survival itself. At that moment, Mors's form suddenly reappeared, and chains slithered out like serpents, lashing toward everyone in the room. In the blink of an eye, iron shackles clamped around every person present. The children, terrified, erupted into chaos. The teacher could only keep trying to soothe them. Don't be afraid, children. You're going to be safe. Hearing this, Mors looked genuinely confused, unable to understand where the teacher's confidence came from. What nonsense are you talking about? Go ahead and use your power. You're not taking these children. If anyone can go with you, it's only me. Meanwhile, the battle between Seo Gangyu and Kingston had begun in earnest. Seo Gangyu launched a thunderous punch, but Kingston blocked it effortlessly. With power like yours, you might truly walk the path to invincibility. Suddenly, Seo Gangyu flickered and appeared in front of Sinka, but once again, Kingston intercepted the attack with ease. Are you underestimating me? Why don't we have a proper talk? But Seo Gangyu had no intention of stopping, throwing another furious punch at his opponent. Young man, I understand how you feel, but you can't let your emotions dictate your actions. Kingston swung a fist. Seo Gangyu barely managed to dodge, tipping his head back just in time. In that instant, his eyes froze. His proud domain had been shattered by Kingston with almost no effort. Even Cinco was stunned by the sight. Little girl, now's your best chance to run. She looked stung by the remark, as if her pride had been wounded, but for the sake of survival, she begrudgingly fled the scene with her 2 bodyguards in tow. Seo Gangyu didn't try to stop her, he just stared after her departing figure. Now it's just the 2 of us. Let's have a real conversation. But Seo Gangyu seemed possessed, charging at Kingston like a madman. Facing Seo Gangyu's wild assault, Kingston simply smiled as though he saw through everything and calmly raised his guard. The scene shifted to a strange, isolated space. You might not understand why I was so sure of what I said. It's because the only thing I'm good at is defense. At first, I didn't even like my power, but after talking with Rayasa, I realized my ability is essential for society. I'll do everything I can to shield these children from harm. Why do you do it? Just for them. At this, the teacher smiled. Didn't I tell you before? I'm a teacher. My duty is to protect the children. Maybe you can't understand us because we come from completely different worlds. You grew up among filth, molded into a machine for killing, your life long but never your own to choose. You became a puppet, tied to someone else's grand plan, forced step by step down the wrong path. After I die with you, I'll set right everything you ever learned wrong. Just as I said before, a teacher's duty is to dedicate their life to the children. So when I became a teacher, I was already prepared to sacrifice myself. Children, when you grow up, I hope you all become true heroes. Because you are our future. As he spoke, rage twisted Moore's face, for the words dragged her back to her own childhood. I am your teacher, your guide, and you are our future. So are you ready to offer yourselves for me? With this, Moore's story truly began. At the orphanage, Moors was chosen by Taelum, along with a group of other gifted children, and invited to join Taelum's academy. Children, from now on, I am your teacher. In the future, I will become queen of this world, and you will all study here, becoming my most loyal warriors. From this moment, I want you to pay close attention in class. After that, Moors and the other children spent their school years together. For years, Taelum taught them how to use their abilities to kill, constantly molding their minds and brainwashing them. Of all the children, Moors grew the fastest and earned Taelum's special favor. She became class monitor and also Taelum's weapon, tasked with punishing any classmates who broke the rules. One time, as Moors was about to rest, Taelum called out to her. Wait, Moors, how does it feel being class monitor? Teacher, I'm not sure, but every time I punish those unqualified classmates, I feel sick inside. Moors, do you like insects? No, I hate bugs. When humans see lower forms of life, it's instinct to feel disgust. That's normal, but over time, if your classmates gradually become more human, you'll slowly get used to that feeling. So keep working hard, Moors. I believe I made the right choice making you class monitor. The scene shifted. Years passed. You've all been at this school a long time. A year from today, you'll come of age. That will also be the moment I seize control of the world. After that, all the children strove desperately to complete every assignment Taelum gave them, no matter how difficult. Always giving their best. But then an unexpected accident shattered everything. No one knew how long it passed. Someone who had always been by Taelum's side was suddenly gravely injured. Why didn't you just kill him outright? Were you so tired last night? Why don't we just have an early night tonight? The woman's expression soured. That depends on my mood. Zine change. Taelum was dead. The ones who killed him were the couple from before. Udoriti warned us to be wary of him, but this woman was far too weak. Who would have thought she'd build a school and turn the children into rebels? Looks like we'll have to pay her school a visit ourselves. If we don't, Udoriti is bound to hold us responsible. Soon, the pair arrived at the school and gathered all the students together. Due to special circumstances, this school is now closed. When the students saw Taelum's corpse, panic swept through them. Immediately, they unleashed their powers and attacked the couple. Hilo merely snapped his fingers. In the next second, all the charging students were flung back by a powerful force. Watching this, Clark sighed. She really did pour her heart into teaching these kids. She must have spent so much time and money just to help them fit into society. But now they're nothing but walking weapons. Time bombs waiting to go off. No one can tell when they'll explode. What do we do with them? Wait until those people show up before we act. If they're bound to cause trouble in the future, we might as well deal with the root of the problem now. These kids are already completely brainwashed. Their world is nothing like ours. One thing's for sure. Once they grow up, they'll turn into maniacs. Better to nip the thread in the bud while we still can. Moments later, blood spattered across the room. Watching Clark approach step by step, Moors was paralyzed with fear. Why are you killing us? We're just kids here to take classes. You are students, yes, but you're far too dangerous. You were abandoned by your parents at the orphanage, then deceived by wicked people. All you've learned in your life is how to kill, which is why I have to kill you. I'm sorry. It's harsh, but it's the truth. You were never meant to exist in this world. I hope in your next life you'll have kind parents." Just as Clark was about to finish Moore's off, a jarring noise rang out. Hilo appeared face flushed, sighing with a strange, bashful pleasure and hurried over to Clark's side, saying he couldn't wait any longer. Clark still wanted to deal with Moore's first, but Hilo refused. "We should let her live. In this bloody room there's a dying child. Doesn't a scene like this excite you?" Clark paused for a moment, startled. "You really are an impatient little bitch." As soon as the words left his mouth, the two of them fell into a frenzied kiss. Meanwhile, Moore scrambled desperately for safety. She didn't know how long she crawled, but finally she managed to escape the two. She was now utterly alone with nowhere to go. For a long time, Moores wandered aimlessly without purpose. One day, someone called out to her in a city. "You're one of Taelum's students, right? Come with me. Let's fight for our ideals together." From then on, Moores followed that person, fighting in countless battles, large and small. In those battles, she killed many people. But the good times didn't last. He was eventually killed in action. At the same time, Moores was captured by the hero Tommy and sent to Rculus prison. Time passed until one day a portal appeared in Moore's cell. "Moores, you weren't wrong. The world is what's wrong. When I become queen, I'll make this world right. Then you'll finally belong here." The scene shifted back to the present. "All my life, everything I learned told me to do this. But now you tell me my whole life was a mistake. Do you really think I can accept that? Professor, answer me, just like Udoriti and the other heroes told me. Was I never meant to be born into this world? Moores, there's no one who doesn't deserve to be here. I know everything you've been through is terrible, but that doesn't mean your crimes can be forgiven. You've committed too much wrong up to now. I'll go to hell with you, I'll take responsibility for your childhood, and I'll bear what you've done. But before that, I have a request. Can we be separated so the children don't have to witness this?" Hearing this, Moores furiously told him to shut up. At the same time, the guillotine above the teacher's head began to drop. "Children, turn your heads away. It's been an honor teaching you." At that moment, the blade fell with terrifying speed. The teacher closed his eyes, awaiting death. Several seconds passed, but the end never came. He slowly opened his eyes to find Moores holding back the guillotine. "Moores, why? I know I was wrong. I just never wanted to admit it. Ever since I punished my classmates for the teacher, I started to hate myself, so much that I couldn't even bear to look at my own reflection. Tommy once warned me not to become someone else's puppet, but when I saw myself in Tommy's eyes, I was filled with loathing. Those days were pure agony for me, and that's why I couldn't admit the truth. There really is something wrong with this world. So the truly disgusting thing isn't me, it's the world itself. But when I saw you all smiling so happily, I realized that was what I'd always wanted most. So please take good care of them, because that's a life I never got to have."